This is the Primetime Royale, which we have Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, tell comments about like where you place your router, right? Like, do you place it on a wall? Do you place it over your kitchen sink? Do you place it in the bathroom? Where random place would you place your router? Our good friend Polymer wants to know. So everyone, just comment about something. Fucking, I need you guys to do that. No one's commenting. I need you to comment. Any which way, I'm gonna introduce all these amazing individuals, starting with our current stream queen. His name is Hans of Harkira. Hans won last time. Once again, when Kyo-san was not around. Interesting. And Kyo-san isn't around. Yeah, I just feel like you might win again today, but is it a real win if you couldn't do it with Kyo-san? I don't know.
Like, tell him to get his ass in the ring, and then we'll see where. So everyone, hi. Like, if you don't know me, obviously, what are you doing? My name's Hans. I play Pokemon. I beat people's asses in debates. Like, all the other intros behind me, they don't fucking matter because we know who the champion's gonna be. It's the same champion that we currently have, and his name is Hans of Harkir. And I don't give a shit about any of these other people because I am the reigning PrimeCayes champion of the world, and I ain't never gonna stop, and I'm not stopping until the end of the night until I have this again. So, hey, I'm a market socialist. You should follow me on Twitter. You should follow me on Twitch, Hans of Harkir, Hans with a Z because I'm special that way. And you can watch me play Pokemon while I beat all these people's asses. I hope everyone has a lovely night being my jobbers, and I can't wait to have a lovely time playing with all of y'all. So, let's have a good night.
Damn good intro. All right, thank you so much, Hans. You know who else is special? That's Tiberius. Tiberius, thank you for coming through. Tiberius was with us last night. We had a whole anime discussion that was very much impromptu. So thank you, audience members, for coming back after that. But it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. Thank you, Ty, for joining us today.
Thanks for letting me be here. It's a pleasure. I am Tiberius D, evil right-winger extraordinaire, and I'm basically here to steer your horse and take it back to Indiana. Outside of that, you're welcome to vote me off for the reigning champion, Hans. We know he's going to win, so we'll just give it up to him right now. But we'll be here to see how far we can go. And shout out to my fellow right-wingers, Killer Sig and Fallenor. Fallenor being the biggest patron for my personal community. So thank you there, sir. And then if you like what I do later, I'll give intros as I leave. So we'll hit that as we go on. Thank you
so much. Next, we have Marcy. Marcy, who was previously a music theory woman, but now a social worker woman. Great. I actually have a lot of respect for social workers. Marcy, thanks for being here. And why'd you make the change?
Well, I had a personal epiphany today. That epiphany was this, all right? If you have something that you love so much that you tie it into your personal identity, right, and what you think of yourself, you should under no circumstances go to school for that thing, right? Because then if you miss a class, suddenly you're having a spiral. Suddenly you're having an identity crisis. And so what I decided is I would rather do music and have fun with it, you know, and have it as a hobby and a thing I do in my free time. But I care deeply about social work. I would love to reach out to trans kids and help them escape abusive situations. I would love to help families that had crazy dynamics like mine growing up and like many of my friends growing up. I would love to help low-income communities and immigrants, especially, kind of adjust to the world. Also, I mean, the social work degree will help you with research skills. It'll help you with economics. It'll help you with political theory, all this basic stuff you have to know in order to help people navigate this crazy world we live in. And I really, really respect that. And my mom she's going for a PhD right now in social work. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow in her footsteps and on the side, be the best goddamn composer on twitch.tv. Hi, everybody. My name's Eagle Music Theory, but I go by Marcy on here and on Twitter. I'm here to challenge Hans of Harkir for his debate title as the stream queen, all right? Here's my claim, all right? Look at Hans, now look back to me. Now look at Hans, now look back to me, all right?
Yeah,
what we have here is a classic case of the soft 110-pound woman versus the himbo king over here, Hans of Harkir. But I tell you, what I lack in brawn, I make up for in the massive wrinkly brain that occupies my cranium, all right? I am the #1 motherfucking Renaissance Tran on Twitch.tv, and I am here to pile drive Hans of Harkir intellectually with my pure rigor. You will see that we are truly the light Yagami and El Lawait, except El is a hot girl of the Twitch politics scene. Except this time, he will be the one with the heart attack.
Marcy, so when I inevitably win and we all discover that I have more wrinkles than you and I'm bigger than you, what will you have then? You ain't gonna have shit! I'm gonna take everything for you tonight, including the title, which I still currently possess.
I'm coming for that title, buddy.
Pokemon.
I'm gonna climb right out of that grave, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take your Pokemon up to fucking Lavender Town and bury them bitches. Bury them bitches under a pile of mud and filth where they belong.
Yes.
Okay, Marcy, I'm gonna have to hand it to you. That was a KOE level intro right there. That was amazing.
Thanks. I like to think of myself. I like to think of myself as the bombastic progressive. So we
You're like, hi, I'm Sam.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can follow that up correctly.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. But yeah, thank you so much, Marcy. And I can't wait for the drama that's going to appear between these two. Oh, it's going to be.
This is going to start a really big drama. That's true.
Who's going to get canceled?
So next, we have Sam. Sam doesn't need all this. Sam has his own group, his own cult that he's been starting. He's been cultivating. He's got his cheering crowd, members of his order here in chat, rooting him on, and will definitely vote him into the championship, I'm sure. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing great. I just finished, with my semester, so I'm just chilling and relaxing. Got a lot more time on my hands now. So.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. I'm glad. I hope it was a successful semester there.
Yeah.
Next, we have Maddie. Maddie is back. Oh, wow. So excited.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Maddie keeps coming back to this channel, and we're always so happy to have her. She's always so much fun, and brings like a really good mood to this to all my shows. So Maddie, how are you doing today?
I'm so good. Thank you. I know I haven't been able to be on a Saturday show yet. So this is the first time I've ever been on a show where I could be voted off or not make it to the end. So I'm really excited. And my viewer, all 6 of my current viewers right now are also very excited. Sure. But yeah, this is going to be great. Hello, everyone. I'm Maddie Cakes. I'm really fun, and I'm a cartoon character, and everyone loves cartoons. So that's why you should vote for me. And, it'll be great. I promise. Do it, please. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have a new person who I don't believe has been here before. Killer Seek, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I guess about me, I originally started streaming last year of October. I've been on and off quite a bit. I was one of the first panelists when Mr. Geek started up doing his thing, and got to know people like Spectre of Cynicalism, Samantha Banana, and a few others. I generally classify myself, like I said, as like socially libertarian, but economically, I guess you could say capitalistic. I don't know the exact definitions or words you would use for anything. Just like everybody else, I don't fit cleanly in an ideology. But I'm glad that I finally got to be on your panel, Prime, and hopefully I get to have a blast as everyone tears into me.
Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, we're excited to have you. Next, we have Wordy. Wordy, who's never been on one of my closed panels, but has popped on my open panels and is called Controversy After Controversy.
Oh my God.
Which is odd for such a soft-spoken individual, but
soft-spoken. Jesus, I don't think I'm soft-spoken. I just
you're definitely soft-spoken. You're definitely soft-spoken. You're like the definition of soft-spoken. And I'm not saying it as an insult or anything, but yeah.
All right. So, hi, I'm Wordy, new Twitch streamer, anarcho-communist, the based opinions, because as we all know, market socialists, soc dems, they may have good intentions, but it's been an incoherent ideology. And as a whole, it's Hans here is the current champion. As we all know in Pokemon, champions stand to be taken down. That's what we're coming in here for. This is going to be a fight. We're getting ready to take him down because in the end, he talks through his muscles, he talks through his looks, but in the end, he's got nothing going up there. I am the collective consciousness of all of gay people. I'm on the hive mind, right? I take all the knowledge of all gay people in existence and I make proper argumentation instead of looking good.
All right, so Wordy,
Do you do that without their consent or no?
Like, I just don't think any of you are capable of understanding that I'm both smarter and prettier than you. And I realize it's like it's making all of you go through
the only
sort of
wrinkles you got
crisis.
are on your forehead.
And I'm here to help with
This
that.
is the
too,
person
'cause,
that was complaining about aesthetics earlier with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hans, I don't know, dude. I've got some sapphics in my DMs who might be a little different of an opinion on that.
I'm extremely good looking, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of beautiful people on this panel. I was just like, I just got to represent. Like,
you see, Hans is the only reason I really disagree with you is because you choose not to have long hair. If you had long hair, you would fill the perfect romantic aesthetic. However, because you do not choose long hair, you fail in every matter. Then
it's crisp, it's clean. I can do this easily in the morning. Like, I'm here to make the world a better place.
It's easily in the morning.
I don't need it.
Sacrificing romance for ease of
I don't think
use.
you would look good
The
with long
ladies
hair.
love it.
I'm attracted to beta males. I could never love a Hans.
I mean, like, I'm okay with that.
So in that case, is anarcho-communist. Make sure you engage in direct action, organization, protests, all the good stuff. I will be passing off to Falinor. Go on.
Falinor, thank you for stopping by. Is this the first time you're on? No, you're not. I think this is not the first time you're on my close.
I've been around a few times.
Yeah. But like sporadically, very sporadically. We'd love to have you here more often, actually. But I know you're a very busy man.
Yeah, it's getting worse now. Things are actually starting to open back up. But yeah, I'm Falinor. I'm the resident walking C4 pack of grenades and loveliness. You're demographically challenged, neighborhood-friendly capitalist. I'm here to make money and to make the sad.
When you say demographically challenged, what does that mean?
So I am a service-disabled Native American veteran, and so I am demographically challenged in that nature, as I don't fit with any group.
You just listed multiple groups that you fit with.
I know, but because I fit into multiple categories, I don't fit in with anybody.
It's like
that's one way of looking at it.
I was gonna say, like, because I'm part of more than one minority group, I cannot exist in any minority group. I am the omni-minority.
I'm so minority.
It's the null minority.
He's a right winger. We don't believe in this
counteract each other.
Good
I'm
googly
Donald
moogly.
Dragon fruit. I don't fit in any fruit basket.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
That was spicy.
This was sure. Well, thank you, Paolo.
This was a mistake.
As always. But seriously, thank you for being here. Last but certainly not least, we have Ninetales. Ninetales, thanks for coming back. Ninetales has gotten very, very close to winning Stream Queen. Very, very close in the past. Ninetales, do you think today will be the day?
Oh, I don't claim to know the future. That's beyond my grasp. I am humbled by the present, if anything. I'm Ninetales, not a Pokemon, not a Naruto runner. Other than that, I guess I do debates here on PrimeCayes. I have a Twitter thing. I'll post that in chat. But other than that, I don't have a lot going on. I have celiac disease, and I'm pretty sure I ate gluten by accident today. So this might be the last time I stream for a while. Because it's going to be a long couple of weeks.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I hope you're okay, and I'll be particularly gentle towards you tonight. I promise. I'm really sorry about that.
No, I'm fine right now.
Okay.
But anyway, sympathy, folks. Let's go.
Oh, come on.
Okay, all right.
Listen, play the cards you're dealt. Hell yeah.
Okay.
You're true, Queen.
So we'll get started. I've been having trouble thinking which would be the best one to start with, like which is the most divisive topic that I have listed. Which one? Maybe I should go with the the trigger warnings. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's a soft topic to begin with, so why not?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like,
What?
all right.
Why not play some softball?
Hans, what do you think?
As the reigning stream queen, I'm totally down for this. I think this is something that I haven't done. Everyone, I'll be completely honest. I didn't prepare for this. I'm swinging for the fences. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna beat all you. I don't even need to try. Like, I train every day in the battlefield of ideas and in the gym. I don't need to do any fucking research. Let's talk about trigger warnings and a trigger warning for everyone on this panel, because I'm about to blow you out the fucking water.
So does training just basically mean you do a bunch of steroids?
Okay, all right.
No, this is
Oh
all
my
natural. The only thing I'm putting in my body tonight is beer. So,
Okay.
like, what do you?
All right. Well, we'll just get started. I'll pick one and we'll see how it goes. All right. So we'll do the trigger warnings one. Okay. Topic 1: do trigger warnings degrade online discourse? If not, would a world where we massively expand the use of trigger warnings to other areas of society be a better one? What do you, did I explain the rules? Do you all know the rules? Fallon, do you know?
Can you go over them one? This is my first time.
Sure. All right, I'll do it very quickly.
Can't possibly imagine what they would be.
I don't do rules.
Okay.
My first time, please be gentle.
we have-
Explain to me.
We have a number of rounds where we narrow down the people here to find the stream queen. After each round, we have a voting. We do voting where the audience picks whoever's most interesting, whoever's most fun, right? Whoever it is to stay, right, to go to the next round. And then we eliminate them. We use the top vote getters get to eliminate the bottom vote getters. Those are the rules. Anything else? Any questions on that? It's pretty simple. You'll figure it out. Anyway, try. Here we go. Trigger warnings to the great online discourse. If not, would a world where we massively expand the use of trigger warnings to other areas of society be a better one? All right, you have 45 minutes left on the clock. Just jump into it. Go ahead.
Okay, so as someone with autism, I think that they can actually help a lot. Now, I might be high functioning, but it doesn't change the fact that my mood and my inability to filter things can be heavily affected by what I'm watching. So let's say like first thing in the morning when I'm watching Democracy Now!, I like it when they tell me that there's about to be like some graphic content or a graphic subject, because the rest of my day might be impacted by that. And I'm incredibly sensitive to these things.
Yeah, I think even for those, I mean, Fallon, you mentioned that you're a veteran. For people that suffer from things like PTSD, for victims of sexual assault, who, whether seeing some sort of content that could be potentially triggering, especially for those where that reaction is quite frankly debilitating, I think it's a positive thing. And I think it's good that they give people a heads up so they can make the decision whether or not they want to engage with that content. It's not censoring the content. It's not preventing it from being depicted or spoken about, but it's allowing people who maybe know that they have certain areas that could trigger like a visceral reaction or something that is like derived of PTSD. It protects and insulates them from having to deal with that without their consent.
Nothing gets me more excited than 4th of July between 5 and 7:30 at night when I go to get my dogs and bring them inside, and somebody sets off an artillery shell and I find myself laying in the mud.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, but like, do you want to
That's
spend the rest of your
unfortunate.
day?
What?
Do you really want to spend the rest of your day feeling like you're in a war zone?
I'm a little confused. What was that?
That was clearly sarcasm.
It's PTSD.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. So maybe
Do
I'm
you
being
not believe
confused, like-
PTSD exists, like for people? Because there are veterans that, like, when they came back from a war zone, even like a backfiring car could
You hit the deck.
trigger like a reaction. I mean, my good friend who was a medic and he served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He still goes to therapy now, and he's been back for 15 years from when he was initially deployed. And like the PTSD that he had to deal with was huge. I mean, he said for the longest time, if he were driving down a street with tall buildings, instinctually, he would be looking up at
the
each of the
building
buildings to like,
to see if there's
to
someone on it.
see if there's someone on it. Exactly. And like,
It never goes away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it said that like often it would shut him down, and there were certain movies for a long time he couldn't go to, especially ones depicting a war zone, because especially with the movies now, they were so realistic that it would trigger that reaction. So for someone like him, I could see a trigger warning for that type of content being essential to ensure that
Yeah.
he is like mentally safe.
Yeah, like
Having grown up in group homes, like I don't
yeah.
have the same reaction to like feeling like I'm in a war zone. I don't get like a rush or an adrenaline rush. It basically just makes me want to crawl in a hole and hide from everything, because when I was in the group homes, there was no fighting. There was none of that. In fact, fighting was losing. So I think, you know, like as soon as like PTSD is one thing, but like it can get pretty complex too. It can like it can affect different people differently. Some people it's uncaught. So they can better handle these things that aren't even labeled by just knowing like, oh, this thing tends to like set me off and ruin my day. That's why to me like it's essential.
I feel like it's important that we note really quick that just for the sake of like talking about trigger warnings and online discourse, right? I think that like when we talk about like veterans and people with maybe autism or things that are more prone to like direct triggers, that's definitely a big part of it. But a lot of Americans suffer from a mental illness or condition of any kind. And like most conditions can elicit a trigger response, right? If you're a depressed person who has self-harmed in the past, that can elicit a trigger response. I am a hypochondriac. I have like intense anxiety around illnesses and health stuff. So for a while, I was really, really dependent on people marking trigger warnings for COVID, for discussions of COVID and like its symptoms and everything like that, because all I have to do is see something like that, and suddenly I'm having a panic attack, checking my temperature every 5 minutes, checking my breathing, you know. So I really do think that this needs to be seen as a broad conversation of like a lot of people suffer from mental illnesses. It's not just like us doing this for like the people who are like easily triggered or whatever. Like it's us doing this for literally everybody, because like there's a ton of people, especially communicating in online political discourse, right, who are going to be set off by certain things.
Ty, Hans, Wordy.
All right, so as far as trigger warnings in general, or actually as far as veterans, I know many veterans that have this. I've heard stories back from even like post World War II. People came back, they heard a plane over, and they all hit the deck. I usually like to be very open and nice and try to be understanding with people, but this is one issue that I'm going to go full right winger on. If we have to do trigger warnings for this, that, and everything, we're gonna have trigger warnings for literally life. I can't deal with this. This is one of the things that drives me absolutely fucking crazy. Is that look, everyone has problems. I have bipolar disorder. You have your thing. This person has that thing. Look, I understand that we should be sympathetic to each other, but on the other hand, is that life is dangerous and it's fucking scary. And you should know that walking out your door or going online in the blind. So if you have a problem, the first part issue is identification. It's understanding what that problem is. The second thing is to figure out what your coping mechanism is for that, whether it is you have to time out, you have to get out of that, or you have to have medication, whatever it is. And the third is overcoming. Now, some things you don't overcome in a general level. I might have bipolar disorder forever, but the general level here for me is that if we're going to actually have a real conversation about what is acceptable, what's not, I'm okay with saying, look, we're not going to put, I don't know, like pornography or whatever up on certain things. But if we're literally going to have all the things that I've seen thrown up for trigger warnings, literally everything will. And that's just no fun. So
let's go to Hans, Wordy, then Maddie, Sam, Marcy, and Night.
Great. So for Tiberius, I think I can answer this relatively quickly, and I hope that we can broaden this topic to actual solutions or practical applications of trigger warnings in society. So hopefully that's where I want this conversation to go, beyond just us yelling at Tiberius for being a dumb fuck, right? So specifically Tiberius, there's a lot of things we can do that do not dramatically harm society by having trigger warnings. We have them say right now in movies where it's it's rated PG-13, the adult themes, violence. In terms of describing those, it's very easy just potentially expand that and say, oh hey, instances of sexual assault, instances of violent ringing or violent war zones. Just describing that is so much easier than it's not saying we have to stop all life. It's just giving people more information, because you talk about you literally just said, oh, know what bothers you and avoid it. everything we're talking about, or at least what I'm talking about from like a prescriptive policy way of like having trigger warnings, is just giving people more information so they know what to specifically avoid. It's like a case like, whether it's a war veteran or someone like, with like, say, like who's been sexually assaulted in the past, like having like that in media just like lets them know, hey, like you should probably avoid this. And then I don't see why that would say like discourage or diminish meaning for like enjoying life, if just like in the case of, say, like maybe instead of a 3-second like panel at the beginning, we have a 5-second panel that just like more extensively lifts like what's going to happen inside a given frame of media or inside a debate that's going to happen. And I would like very much prefer that we go along this path in terms of like the discussion about where we're talking about what we want to see like put forth in terms of what we talk about in terms of trigger warnings, as opposed to saying whether they're good or bad. I think most of us can probably agree, if you want to like take the hard line on this, say like, oh, I don't want any of them, right? Like, I don't care. I don't want any movies like rated R. I don't give a fuck. Like, there can be rape, murder, incest, everything. The first 5 seconds, I don't want to tell anybody about that. It's like, all right, well, I think it's really fucking stupid. And I hope like we'd realize that like in terms of like even like from the moral right, that you would not want, like, you want people, like at least children, to like know like what they're getting into when they're watching like a frame of media, right? And like just telling people that, I don't think having that information is a bad thing. And I'd like to go along that route in terms of talking about what we mean by instituting trigger warnings, as opposed to saying like whether they're good or bad.
Ty, did you want to respond to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So on a level, like I appreciate what you were saying there, like content warnings in media. Like I'm okay, sure. Don't we already have
those are
that,
trigger
right?
warnings?
Okay, if that's a little weird, but okay, sure. If you want to call that a trigger warning, fantastic. There's a level where I can appreciate this and be like, hey, look, going in understanding is like, if I'm going to go watch the movie Fury, if you're a veteran, you might have a problem with this movie. There's a few things that you should, I don't know, common sense, that you just walk in, you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't watch this, or I know I'm getting into shit. Did I say I don't want any trigger warnings whatsoever? Like, if you're going to put content warnings in there, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm not against that. The problem I have here is like, what are we going to have a content warning for, or a trigger warning for? Like, if you have PTSD for being raped, are we going to have a content warning on literally any rape documentary for every single one of those? I can understand that, but
yeah.
Where's the line here? Like, what things are not worthy of a content warning?
Oh, okay. This is exactly where we want to be at this.
Yeah.
Let's go through the line in terms of like what we like do and do not want. In terms of, say, like sexual assault or like films and media and stuff, I'm not advocating for like before every scene where like something bad happens that we have like a disclaimer saying something's bad is going to happen in this scene. I think that is like obviously like some like weird authority, and that could like obviously like ruin the experience of like different media like showing stuff like that. I think having a basic understanding at the beginning of any media showing or like news broadcast saying this is what we're going to cover can cover all those things without like either taking people out of the experience or like and letting people know what potentially could trigger them. So like let's throw it to the rest of the people. That's like where I'm at in terms of trigger warnings.
I've got no problem with that. And the large part here that I'm going to just advocate for is, do we not already have that? We already have rating systems for movies, television, PG-10, PG-13, that kind of thing, parental guidance, and it usually has sexual violence, sexual disclaimer, war, combat, blood, gratuity, all that stuff. So I'm kind of lost. Are we not here already?
Let's go to
No.
Wordy. Let's go to Wordy.
One that I would
Hold on,
like to
let's go-
see.
Hold on. Let's go to Wordy, Maddie, Sam, Marcy, Nine, then Palinar.
So in the instance is trigger warnings themselves are a portion and not a totality, right? They don't cover every single instance of behavior in itself. What happens is we generally agree in society, people have very set of experiences usually that have like probably significantly harmed them, like rape, sexual assault, all these different things that people have experienced that basically, if they like receive any stimulus of that, or like epilepsy, right? And what happens is that happens. And so we agree, like people should have the choice to be able to opt out in their media. However, when it comes to real life situations, that is a much more harsh situation. So when we look at trigger warnings, it's all that. So what we need to do is expand this to totality. Is like, okay, what point can we come to where we eventually eliminate how trigger warnings need to exist? For example, like PTSD and rape itself. Okay, so in that instance, as we need to decrease rapes, this way we can have a less of an emphasis. Because in the reality, as trigger warnings are a means of resolution of an existing issue, as like a way of like ameliorating, like dealing with mediating. But instead, what we can do is, while accompanying trigger warnings, we also need to examine the root causes of like rape and such. So that instance, we, basically decrease the power disparities between men and women. This way we have a less of an emphasis on trigger warnings in things of like rape and such, and also like less active warfare engagement would also be helpful, so we can decrease the amount of PTSD and the need for PTSD warnings.
Maddie.
Yeah, I think what Tiberius brings up is, I think, not invalid. It's like, well, we already have a lot of the what could be construed as trigger warnings. Why do we need more? So here's the thing. I do think that what we have in place, and that's things like warning about suggestive content or violence or, depictions of whatever, I think that's a positive thing. It was developed in the context of allowing parents to be selective of what their children watch. But I think also, why wouldn't we then want to expand that to honest to God adult people trying to decide what they would like to watch, and sort of having that advance notice? I mean, and this isn't necessarily just for people who have PTSD because they were in a war zone. This is also people who maybe suffered from child abuse and were abused as kids. And so to then see something depicted on their screen, especially when it's in content that, obviously, if it's like a documentary about rape, it's pretty clear what it's going to include, right? Like, that's weird. But when it comes to something that's like a fictionalized series or a story, like, where you don't necessarily know what's going to happen or what's going to be depicted. So getting a trigger warning like that may have you make an informed decision on whether or not this is something that you want to watch. The same way that adults make those types of decisions for kids, we should be able to make it for ourselves as well, especially when there are going to be subjects that are triggering and can set someone off and does like material psychological harm.
Okay, so let's go to Sam, Marcy, 9, Fallenor, Sieg, Hans, and then Morty.
Yeah, so it seems like our main dispute is like the word trigger warning, right? Like, I think we're okay with all the prescription. It seems like Tiberius was okay with it, and I understand that we're trying to narrow it down to exactly what we want. As somebody who suffers from PTSD and has gone through therapy for it, I think like the most important thing we need to remember is that it's consensually being given your trigger sometimes, or your whatever triggers your PTSD can help. This is part of therapy. Exposure therapy is something we do, but again, it's in a controlled environment. It's in an environment where you feel you're in control, where you have somebody who's an expert there who can help you go through it. That is the point of it. It's not something that you do in your everyday life. You might do some exercises in your everyday life, but you have to be in control, and that is the big thing. I think that we have to look at this through a consent lens. We want to make sure everybody has informed consent when they get to do when they're doing something. So content warnings of such can help people make that informed consent decision.
So much. Next, Marcy.
Okay, so my partner and I, they come home from work, we cuddle on the couch, and we watch a movie most nights. Lately, we've been doing this thing. We're trying to get in touch with our inner Disney adults, where we watch every Disney movie in chronological order. Some of them have added a disclaimer at the beginning. It lasts about maybe 5 to 10 seconds on screen. And what it says is essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but this film contains racist stereotypes. These are a product of the time, and we must not ignore their existence, but we must take them in context as harmful today. Conservatives flipped the fuck out when this was added to Disney Plus. It was all over the place. They're canceling Dumbo, they're canceling Pinocchio, they're canceling all our favorite Disney movies we haven't watched in a million years because they're not very good. And we think about this, and I just don't see the harm in it, right? If you're watching a movie, if you're sitting down for an hour and a half to watch something, I don't see the harm in a little clip at the beginning, just informing the audience of the problematic aspects of what they're about to see, so that anybody who would rather not see it can opt out, and the audience can enjoy it that's actually watching it, which is the goal of movies, right? I really, really quickly want to go over a couple examples. The show Euphoria on HBO and many other LGBT-friendly examples of TV like that will often say that they'll have like a content warning broadly for the entire show. I think that before each episode, there should probably be a little panel that comes up that tells you like what might happen in the episode. Obviously not before each scene, but there have been so many times I've been watching a show only to be surprised by like, surprise, rape, surprise, graphic hate crime against a trans person. Surprise, 13 Reasons Why she fucking kills herself in the bathtub, and it's like everybody gets to see the graphic suicide, and like half the people watching that show who were watching it to like cope with their emotions are now like screaming on the floor because they just watched the most graphic suicide scene of all of television history. You know, I think that shows can fail their points by doing this, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving content warnings. I propose we call them content warnings from now on, because people like Tiberius hear the word trigger and it sets them into a blind seething rage, because the word trigger is it's dead. It's a dead meme. All right, it's a dead meme. So these are content warnings now.
Trigger warning.
Last thing I want to say. Last thing I want to say. Okay. The question itself, it's fine if we veer off topic into media and like movies and TV and all that, but the question itself was, should we be using trigger warnings in our political discourse? Which I think we absolutely should, because these policies sometimes affect people in such a visceral way, right? I mean, you even see it in like things that I'm for rehabilitative justice, even in the case of like child sex offenders or whatever. But I see people get very, very triggered around this issue because they were victims of CSA. I'm a victim of CSA, and for a while I went through that. I think it would be good and help everyone keep a level head if we did include content warnings, because then people who might be so viscerally upset by the material that they're unable to engage with the ideas can take a minute, prepare themselves, and get ready for the discussion, right? I think that that's extremely helpful to discourse. And last thing, really quick, I think a rape documentary would be pretty upfront about what's going to happen in that documentary. I got to give it to Maddie there. I'm not sure what you were talking about with the rape documentary example of yours.
So, Marcy, can I ask you one quick question? Should we put a trigger warning for whenever we bring up liberal politics in front of conservatives?
Oh my God.
This is a hypothetical that I have engaged with before, and yeah, definitely. I think that trans rights could warrant a bit of a trigger warning in front of Rob Noor, but
Ty,
yeah, can I reply?
Yeah, Ty, since everyone replying to you, I'll let you go, and then we'll move down the list.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So if people think I'm triggered, man, this is kind of a little bit of that fragility thing I was talking about, because I have yet to yell or even raise my voice, but we'll see what happens. No, actually, there's points here I do want to make that I think that we've made some progress on here, and I do think it's justified. I remember watching Tales of the Guns in the 90s on the History Channel. It literally had a disclaimer. It's like, the gun has served hero and villain alike, that kind of thing. And we've definitely seen that. I was a History Channel fanatic as a kid, and I've seen a lot of those programs get content warnings labeled on them as I've gotten older. Is that the exact same episode, exact same stuff that I watched is now like, hey, look, this does have some graphic content. You know, it used to be literally the Hitler channel for a minute there because it was so many World War II documentaries. But things are changing, and I'm not going to say it's definitely wrong. So there's my throw out to you guys. Since Hans is such a Pokemon fan, I'm going to point out, does anyone remember the Porygon episode that gave kids seizures?
Yeah, that's why we have epilepsy triggers and like,
yes, right. And like that's where the things like when you guys bring that up, it sounds so much more grounded, right? It's you guys like, hey, look, we need a content warning for this. Like this could literally make your kids seize out. The thing that where this conversation always goes off the rails for a lot of the right wingers, and why I just kind of wanted to bait and switch this a little bit, was that when you hear this, what are the things that you're actually outlining here? Is like where is the content warning that you see needs to be in place? Where does the rubber hit the road? Because a lot of people hear trigger warnings and they literally think, do I have to have a trigger warning for walking out my door? And that's where the memery gets in. So let's
go to Ninetales, Fallen Or, Sieg, Hans, Wordy, Maddie. Ninetales?
Sorry, just getting used to a new form of muting. Yeah, I want to delve a bit into why like something like TV or like psychological issues are different than day-to-day life. And then I just want to point out some other things that have kind of already been said, so I'll go through them quickly. So like when we're consuming media, it's been shown that our brain enters a different wavelength than what we experience when we're on these panels and stuff like that. It's called the alpha wavelength. It's a lower energy mode for the brain to kind of just take in information, pardon me, and not really process it. Just kind of take it, experience it, and let it pass through. This is really good for hunting. I'm from what I figure in the past, but now we kind of use it to live vicariously through things. The thing is that in this state of higher cognition but lower criticism, the themes and ideas that presented to us can seem realer than life. We often get distracted from the idea that they're not real. We get immersed, quote unquote. And this is particularly bad for people. And this is why the reason for trigger warnings on top of content warnings is important. That state of immersion, of higher reception, puts people with PTSD closer to that edge that will trigger them. And so this is why just walking out the door, well, somebody isn't really in an alpha wavelength when they're doing that, but watching TV, they definitely are. I also want to point out that this is also a means of making this stuff accessible to people who have these issues. So when we look at somebody who might be triggered by things, they can often be driven to stay inside their homes. So that way they don't have to face the stimulus that they don't have control over. We don't want the media that they would consume inside their homes to be the same way. So that way they have even less to do to preoccupy themselves. We want them to have control over that. Because I think when you take away, we can't really control, I'll admit to that, we can't control people getting triggered in broader society. But when you take away some of the ways that people connect to the outside world from within their home, it really does cut them off. It segregates them further. Another good thing is to remember is content warnings are the alternative to the censorship that right wingers hate so much. If you hate stuff being censored just for the sake of content, then you might actually want to consider this as a gray zone, where so there's all sorts of reasons people get canceled, but it's kind of a meme that people get canceled for bringing up a certain thing. What if instead of insensitively saying this stuff, we did notify people because we care about our audience, and therefore people might be less likely to react sharply to that as well. Because I think a lot of what people mistake as toxic online discourse is people reacting to things based on their own psychopathology, and that kind of getting lost in the discussion. I just want to reemphasize one more time, this is not day-to-day life, but even if it was, in day-to-day life, we have the chance to be okay, I'm going out the door. I can prepare myself for this. I can remind myself not to react to my triggers. I can remind myself to breathe. But we kind of with the alpha wavelength, when we watch TV, we let our guard down, that we might not even be thinking ahead of time like that. And that preparation is very important for people to regulate themselves when they can be triggered. So trigger warnings and content warnings, while different, are both equally useful in the world we live in.
Fallen RC, Hans, Wordy, Maddie, Marcy.
Perfect. So I just want to say this. I've been listening for a while now. This might surprise people, but I actually had PTSD before I went into the military. My PTSD, or at least the majority of it, actually came from severe, prolonged child abuse. The number one trigger warning I would actually like to see is regarding child abuse. It's actually just as destructive to me, if not worse, as I experienced the other day with an event that I witnessed while waiting outside of a medical facility, where I found myself suddenly outside of my car yelling at someone. But I don't want to go into details, only that they did something I found inappropriate. But I would actually prefer to see warnings of child abuse over that of explosions. I can at least expect an explosion when I'm watching a movie. If I'm watching, End of Days, where aliens and soldiers are going to be killing each other, I can openly prepare myself for explosions. Fireworks that I'm not expecting, not as much. But what I cannot prepare myself, no matter how much I tell myself it's coming, is child abuse. So I would love to see a world where they actually start labeling for that, because collectively, across the sum of 0 instances, do people label for it in any movie. All they say rated M for mature, and then they say it's M for violence. And then I'm just like, oh, that's nice. And then all of a sudden I'm watching some child get kicked around by an adult. And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden this movie is not something I can watch. And then I just walk out of the room. And so having that warning would be nice, since everybody else gets one but us.
Let's go to Seek, Hans, Woody, Maddie, Marcy.
Yeah, so I do think that changing just the we already have it. Trigger warnings, they're just like people brought up before. Content warnings. I think they're perfectly fine in my personal opinion. I think people should have the right to be able to know the type of media that they're consuming before going into depth on consuming it. My biggest question would be how broad are the categories that we're going to be putting on this, and how many categories are we going to put on this? You're going to have to standardize this, and you're going to have so many categories, whether it's rape, sexual violence, child abuse, things against autism or whatever, and how broad and how many of these are we going to start creating just so we can cover the whole broad topic? Because there are problems with mental disorders. For instance, just like how Ninetales brought hers up, I'm also autistic, and I've also gone into severe child abuse where I was taken from the social services twice when I was a kid, and I had a restraining order placed against my father until I was 18, and I still don't talk to him to this day. But when I consume this media and stuff like that, it does bring up some issues and stuff like that, and I do have these issues appearing in life. The other question that we also need to realize as a society, which I think we're kind of starting to put touch onto, is how we need to start handling social or the stigma of mental illness. We see this a lot with mental health, mental medications, and stuff like that. And simply trying to stop people from consuming media that can trigger it isn't ever going to be enough, and we can never fully protect people against it. We also need to take the extra step of starting to help people with their underlying issues and helping them cure them or live with them in some cases, like my autism.
All right.
May I respond?
Sure.
Yeah. So as far as like how do we categorize things, I think we can rely on psychological institutions to determine what is traumatizing and what is not, because you can examine these things, provide empirical data for it. As far as I guess I forgot the second point, but I do want to point out that like helping people is part of the we have to not have them constantly face these adverse stimuli, right? So like if someone's going to therapy once a week, but then they're experiencing this negative stimuli like 20 times a week because Family Guy decided to make fun of it, or I guess Family Guy's a bad example because that's on once a week, but like that kind of like creates like an imbalance of therapy to adverse stimuli. And that's why I think we need to try to avoid this adverse stimuli, give people more control to do that than simply say, oh, well, they should get more help.
Yeah. So I think I can. So two particular things here. I think Falinor and Seek bring up really important points in terms of categorization, and Ninetales obviously made a really great suggestion as how you're supposed to classify those things. In terms of what we call something worthy of a trigger warning, that's something we can entirely do. I think we have the manpower, we have the intelligence saying even if it's say a categorization of if there's 120 different terms, your violence, your stereotypical violence, your bloody violence, your decapitations, your suicide stuff, your mental health stuff, your potential mental health stuff. Those are all things we can put on a disclaimer that just make it two or three slides instead of a single slide at the beginning of a given movie. But two, I'm going to make a very positive argument in terms of how it could positively affect the discourse. If someone is super down for anything with the potential of say child abuse, like in the case of Falinor, right? Then telling them when this is going to be a topic of discussion or an important part of some form of media, then essentially you're providing so much more freedom to people. Because personally, I don't have any particular hangups about really anything. I like my blood, I like my gore, I like my sex, I like my drugs, all that sort of stuff. When I'm watching my media, but if I had a particular hangup, knowing what I could avoid essentially gives me free reign to touch everything else. This more information for people, whether it's discourse, whether it's media, anything. In the case if you're a part of Destiny's community, right? And he you're cool with everything except for talk about incest stuff. Essentially knowing when you can be there and when you cannot, you just give yourself so much more power in terms of what you can and can't enjoy. And just having that is entirely liberating and freeing. And I don't know why this is a bad thing. Saying, oh, toughen up. It's okay, but I feel like everyone has a line where they say like, oh, I don't want my children to be bombarded with porn from ages 8 to 18 every day of their life. Like we all have some limit of what we don't want people to see. But I feel like providing the opportunity to say, oh, hey, this is something if this bothers you, whether it's sexual stuff, or whether it's drugs, or whether it's mental health, or whether it's violence, providing people that information is nothing but a benefit, so they can avoid it because they can enjoy freely everything else. I don't want to stop media. I don't want media that says oh, no violence. Oh no, I don't want comics coach. I don't want no violence. I don't want no sex, no drugs, no potential abuse. I think those could be extremely compelling stories and narratives. But I want to be able to tell the people that those will be genuinely hurt by that to be able to avoid them. I'm not trying to stop art. I'm trying to let people know about what art is comprised of, so we can all enjoy more of it better. And that's the most pro freedom thing I can think of. So I'm not sure why you'd be bothered by that specifically. So
can I respond really fast?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go for it.
I actually never said that I was against that. I actually stated that I think it's a very good idea to have people know the content that they're about to consume before they actually start consuming it. I think that can be very helpful because sometimes I don't want to consume certain content. And I know, for instance, there's a lot of religious people that don't want to consume anti-religious content or whatever, and being able to give people some sort of notification can be helpful. And I know I brought up religious people when we're talking more severe stuff, so rape or something. But the only thing that I'm just saying is I mean, I have written policies for states before, and they have been passed through. And I'm just saying, a good policy is always one that's easily definable, and nobody can weasel their ass out. So when we make these policies or these warnings that they need to start placing on their media, you just got to make sure that they're very clearly defined. And I also think that people have an easier time when they only have to memorize 5 or 10 letters on all the warnings or whatever, and not have it look like the credits on an end scene. So those are my two major things.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
I gotta let some other point. Where do you, Maddie, Marcy? We have 10 minutes left on the clock.
All right. So there's a bit of. So what happens is pretty much trigger warnings themselves. They rely on media consumption, right? Basically, certain media is going to portray certain experiences, and from there they create preemptive statements saying, "Hey, this is happening. You can either choose to avoid it or not." And Tiberius, I have some level of issue with you trying to a bit conflate real life itself versus media consumption, because the reality is those are two very distinct spheres, and we purposely put content warning and trigger warnings in terms of media consumption, videos, in terms of movies, in terms of audio recordings. Those are very specific things where we have that space itself for media warnings. However, when it comes to real life, it's increasingly more difficult to be able to prevent yourself from interacting or seeing or dealing with those kinds of experiences. And so what we do is we devise another series of methods. We can go into that later, but basically is we derive a series of experiences for example, relying on the APA's designations of mental illnesses and disabilities from there that people have experiences, and they have more visceral reactions like epilepsy. And I have some issue with you to some extent, for example, autism itself. Sometimes people play it down, and the reality is a lot of people who are autistic have greater levels of sensitivity to sights and sounds and different sensations itself that causes more visceral reactions. And that sometimes is a component of why people have meltdowns and such. And so I have some issue with you playing it down just a little bit in that instance. And then there's also the reality is we need to also work towards, because basically content warnings themselves are just the back end of bad experiences like rape causes people with PTSD, and then content warnings come up to protect people who are the products of those experiences. What we need to do is also ask the questions, why does rape happen? And then from there we have for example, a lot of people feel empowered, and therefore they're trying to dominate power over people who are have less power comparatively, and therefore they rape people. And so that's one example of how rape occurs. In that instance, we also need to address those fundamental issues, how rape happens in itself. It's a multiple process.
Well, we'll go to Maddie, Marcy, Ninetales.
Yeah, I think one thing that was touched on earlier was the fact that there are now content warnings for something like epilepsy. And in that case, it's a lot more direct in terms of looking at cause and effect, because we tend to treat physical ailments or like physical conditions like epilepsy a lot more seriously than we do with psychological conditions or conditions that are potentially, you know, they aren't as physically expressed and physically noticeable. That's why mental health is often seen as different than just regular healthcare. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from, is that potentially the effects that someone could have from being triggered or seeing something that ignites like their PTSD, or in my case, I am recovered from having an eating disorder, and seeing depictions of eating disorders often, it's not that it like makes me go back to it, but it's that image just burned into my brain that I'm already extremely sensitive about. So being able to know ahead of time that it's coming helps me prepare and say, okay, I'm in the right frame of mind where I can see this rather than have it be a surprise. So I think, you know, that's one thing to sort of ask ourselves, is the resistance to implementing broader content warnings because we don't necessarily think that mental health or like mental health fallout should be viewed on par with another like physical ailment like epilepsy.
Okay, let's go to Marcy, Ninetales, then Ty.
All right, so I don't really understand where we're getting into the conversation about like how to best end rape, because while I agree that would be awesome, that is an entirely different conversation than the one about trigger warnings and content warnings. So I'd like to kind of keep this on track, right? Tiberius and Killer C, you both asked for kind of direct like proposals that you would go with. I would say a good place to start would be, in addition to our current rating system, so that parents can decide what their kids should and should not be watching, we should institute a sort of like, before the movie starts, there's just a little thing on screen that says whether it contains, and this is a short list, there are more things: sexual assault, rape, warfare, suicide, gore, depictions of eating disorders, things like that, things that are known trauma triggers, right? I feel that in these situations, sometimes people speak on them without having a full kind of well-rounded knowledge of mental health and its effects both on the body and the mind, and what media like this can do to people. We look at it as like, oh, well, someone would get like uncomfortable if they saw that. Well, I'm uncomfortable all the time, snowflake, so pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get used to it, you know? And that's not a fair framing, because mental health is in many cases just as, if not more harmful to transgress as physical health, right? An epileptic reaction is extremely bad, but to inherently say that a physical reaction to a piece of media is like worse than a mental reaction is to downplay the effect that the mind has on the body and the self as a whole, right? So I think we really, really need to zero in on that. In addition to all of this, just to bring this back a little bit more, I hate to be the fucking lasso rope cowgirl of the stream, pulling it back to the point, right? But the initial question was about political discourse, not our media. And I think it's extremely unproductive when I'm having conversations about criminal justice reform and policy, and someone comes in like, well, that might mean that my abuser gets to walk free. We should execute all rapists. We should execute all pedophiles. I think that's extremely unproductive, and I know that because I've been that person before who has these extremely emotive reactions to discourse, and it makes it impossible to move past that on the topic of like what we should actually do to solve these problems. So in discourse, using content warnings is not only helpful to people who may be triggered by things, but actually helpful to the discourse in general, because it keeps people from responding out of visceral anger to real concrete solutions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go to Nine Tails and Ty. And we have a little bit of time left, so please be quick. Nine Tails, and then Seek.
Yeah, so firstly, one of the things I should have pointed out on my last set of points was that one of the best examples of something that lulls you into a false sense of security only to make you go through something you're not ready for yet is comedy. Now, this can be very enjoyable for some people to go through, like Gilbert Gottfried, for example. Some people might find better than less severe comics, but for some that might bring them back to some memories they are trying to avoid. So like the subject matter varies greatly, but I think we can rely, we can ask like a field of psychologists, what do your clients tell you generally sets them off when they watch media, and we can rely on their responses. Or we can actually look at a bunch of people who do claim to be set off by media and survey them, and we can rely on their responses. This is not a mystical thing. This is a problem I have with the where is the line people who pivot to like passing legislation and stuff like that. It's not mystical. In fact, like the obfuscation is just creating more of a problem than there really needs to be. In fact, we've already passed legislation about this. It means we can pass more. And until you can get educated on the subject and say like, this is where the line, this is specifically why we can't have a line, you're kind of just like pushing the responsibility off yourself to make an actual point. And so to those people, I would actually ask, where's the damage? Substantiate your side that there's even anything wrong with this. I don't actually see how it changes political discourse in any way whatsoever.
All right, Ty and Seek, we have a little more time, so go ahead, make your point.
Yeah, I'm going to try to hit this in 60 seconds. So with what Marcy was going with is that largely I find that pretty based, is that, hey, we should have this whole list. The problem is, like, at least for the media that I've consumed, maybe people just don't realize when they turn it on, is that I've seen most of those. Hey, this has sexual violence. This has child abuse. This has all these other things. So at least to some degree, what you guys are advocating for, or at least what Marcy is, I've seen in person. So maybe we need it more. That's a good conversation. We'll figure it out. I'm going to bag on my side too. Righties are snowflakes too. Have you ever seen them bitch about porn or abortion or trans issues? Like, guys, we can do it too. I'm not going to do the whole macho thing. All right. So I'm going to crash on, I'm going to be triggered on wordy for like the last 30 seconds.
Go for it.
So yeah, reminder, dude, that look, I'm a righty. I don't have a subscription to fucking Leftist Weekly. I don't know what you mean by I want trigger warnings. You're going to have to come to me and say, hey, look, I don't know your definitions, where your lines are, where it's going to, and I assume most of the righties here are not going to as well. I need to know what you want, how you're going to apply it, and you have to assume that I don't know jack shit, or even worse, that I've heard from my righty friends that you want trigger warnings for literally walking out the door. Okay. That's the point of the conversation out here. Thank you.
Killer C, go.
Actually, Tiberius summed it up pretty nicely. All I will say is, righties also get triggered and can be complete snowflakes too. So
okay,
I get it.
All right then. Well, that's the round. All right. So that was pretty good. Thank you all. And to my audience, if you've just stumbled upon this channel, hit the follow button, the notification bell, so you know I'm going live. We're running a bit of a game show here, and we are about to vote some individuals. Well, we're going to vote to who gets to stay, right? So like I'm gonna put a link in chat. It's going to be to our poll, right? So go to that poll, and you're going to be voting for which one of these individuals you want to keep around for the next round. Not who you want to go, who you want to keep around. Vote for any reason, interesting, funny, poignant, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Whatever your metrics is, vote for which one of these individuals you want to stay. Not who you want to go, who you want to keep, not who you want to kick, okay? All right, so we're going to put that link in chat and vote now. Also, we're going to put, before I forget, put 5 minutes on the clock. Vote now, don't vote later, because as soon as that 5 minutes are up, then we will as soon as that 5 minutes are up, then we're going to do the elimination round. Okay, so do it now, don't wait, or you'll be heartbroken. Okay, so link is in chat. 5 minutes left on the clock. Yeah, so here we go.
You mind if I say something to Tiberius really quick?
Sure.
Hey, Tiberius. So listen, you ever see that show? That show, I think it's the Horse Whisperer or maybe the Dog Whisperer, like Caesar Milan. You know,
Yeah, the
Hell
guy
like
gets
to-
bitten all, the
I
guy
like
gets
to-
bitten all the time.
yeah. I don't mean to dehumanize you or anything, but I like to think of myself as the conservative whisperer. I try
Oh,
my
here we
best to
go.
word things in ways that you people can come around to.
You people,
and you
nice
know,
language.
you know what?
Nice
You
You know what,
language.
Ty? You know what, Ty? I get bit sometimes, but it's the risk I run. And if I have to go, and every time I you, it's logic and reason and facts and logic.
We'll
Then I'll
see.
do it. You know, I'll do it.
We'll see.
And I
That's how
I
she
do
asserts
appreciate
her
your point.
dominance.
But I will
That's
say,
how
I will say though,
becomes the alpha.
this thing of I understand the fear about like they might put a trigger warning on like leaving your house, but like my question is like practically, how would you put a trigger warning on real life? I feel like that's some like Google Glass shit, you know?
That's-
Like
It's
that's
Elon
the
Musk brain
conversation.
link. Elon
That's the
Musk brain link. Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
conversation,
Oh my
and that's the problem between the left and the right discourse. Is like the left will say something like defund the police, and we're going to turn it into a fucking meme. And so when we hear trigger warnings, we're not going to take you at serious. We're not going to take you at face glance. What are we going to do? We're going to be like, oh, dude, they don't want you to even walk out of your house. We're going to have VR headsets and everything. Like, literally,
that's
like,
I mean, you can make it a meme, but like I feel like these conversations have a lot of nuance in them, and like are best served by people talking about them in good faith. Like the issue with defund the police, right? I've never said defund the police. I've said that
ACAB.
police funding could be spent in better ways, you know. And I think a lot of lefties, especially lefties who are a little bit more liberal, capital P progressives like myself, might share that opinion and not necessarily be out here, you know, Antifa, burn it all down, get the
Antifa
police
super
abolished.
soldier.
Yeah, so I just you know, if
I
we
think
get
that's the next Marvel movie.
we get a squad of lefties to come out and baby the righties and pat them on the head and say, no, nothing's changing, not that quick, it's okay. And then Maddie, we can't say toxic masculinity. We can't use those words.
That's
because those
right.
are-
That's
they're triggering.
right.
We have to put a trigger warning before the use of the phrase toxic masculinity.
So there was specifically
For
I
whatever
wanted
it
to
is, like
invite-
So,
actually, it's
hold
like
on.
if you
Hold
talk
on,
about like,
hold on one second. I just got everyone. Please vote. Everyone vote right now. Now's the time to vote. Don't wait. Don't wait because your person will be voted out. You'll
Do
be
it.
heartbroken. And you'll be complaining. Oh, well, whatever, right? Like, oh, I voted afterwards. Well, I don't care if you voted afterwards. I care if you voted now. Vote right this second. The link is in chat. Do it. Vote now. Don't vote later. Vote right now. Go ahead.
So Killer, there was one specific thing I
Yarby.
wanted to I never got to address because I was meaning to, but so there's you were saying how religious people like opting out of like consuming like anti-religious content. So I have a concern there because what happens is like religion itself is a series of like basically choices as opposed to like people having like disorders and disabilities. I have an issue is because like if you make that comparison like religious people being able to opt out of anti-religious people, I've never had the option to like basically this is like personal experience because the
That's
reality is
why-
so many like atheists and as such like are exposed to religious content and the reality is like it doesn't bother me being exposed to religious content. I don't agree with it, but it's still a personal choice.
That's why halfway through my rant,
Well-
sorry, I said my mic's muted on the thing, so I got really freaked out. But that's why halfway through my rant, I said I shouldn't have picked religious people. That was the world's worst thing to pick, and then immediately switched over to rape or something else.
Gotcha.
I did
Well,
not mean to throw.
I
that
just
one
wanted the
out there.
clarification for there.
Yeah.
No, it's
well,
good.
that was getting to the point that I was trying to make, but I never got to actually state is we have all these filters that we can apply for things that we want to see from the thousands and thousands of media sources, but what we don't have is the ability to apply a filter for all the things that we don't want to see. And I think that that's a major issue because specifically there's the technology literally already exists. It's just the inverse of what we already have. And so the cost is next to nothing to implement it, but it would dramatically reduce the amount of unfortunate, uninformed reactions that people have to traumas that they witnessed that they never wanted to or intended to simply because we're not applying tags to something we're already tagging already. And literally with just one additional field, we could filter out all the things that we don't want to see. Like for me, I could just click the button for child abuse and just not see any content with child abuse.
Hey,
And-
Fallen Hour. Hey, Fallen Hour.
ahead.
I love you. You're consistently based, and I love your router. I just wanted to say that. I got to go pee. I'll be right back.
So like
I
we
also have to use the bathroom.
we also do have to make sure we make the distinction like people's
need another Diet
experiences
Coke.
are like directly a result of harm, right? But like I I think it's pretty unproductive for people to like for example, we have consistent echo chambers that do occur. Like I would say they occur more consistently across the right than they do the left, but they do occur across the left. And the reality is not being exposed to the other side's opinions, therefore, basically gets us out of touch with the common talking points of the opposing side. This way we can be less effectively argue. Like, for example, we're all like weird spheres here, right? If like Tiberius decided, hey, fuck Wordy's content, I'm not going to listen to it. And so like what happens is like if we have a purposeful distinction and that material, right, what happens is we're both going to be harmed there because we're not exposed to each other's content and we can't engage with those ideas, right? So I want to make sure we do have that distinction. Like choices and people's political opinions aren't necessarily covered by aren't inherently covered by content warnings, but like harmed experiences I think should definitely be covered in that area.
No, I mean, I actually totally agree. I think a lot of people shut themselves off from the other side because they just write them off as dumb or whatever. And for me, in the last 6 months of talking to people, I've made great friends with people like Sanzel, several PrimeCayes mods, which is actually how I got on here. And like, I just been talking to a lot of people on the left. And there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, that's what a trigger warning is? Oh, whoops.
Okay. So,
but then they talk to me about like pull yourself up by your bootstraps or those types of things, which is a meme to you guys, and it's not exactly what people think the right means a lot of times.
So, thanks everyone, and thanks to those who voted. If you voted after that person went off, well, that's too bad. I don't care what you voted for. And if your favorite gets kicked off, that's your fault, not my fault. But we will look at the results right now. All right. So the number one is without a doubt Marcy. Marcy taking the top spot.
Capital P progressive.
Yeah.
Capital P punishment for these bitches. All right, let's go.
Marcy, yes, Marcy's crushing it. Yeah. Next to celebrate with her, well, there's Maddie. Number 2.
Representation, let's go.
Vampire dominance.
Hans, you're weak. Let's go. Come on, Hans. Where's your strength?
The vampire strikes back.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, I think I'm doing just fine. Like,
Hans, you got fucked.
I mean, like, like early start. Like, I get it. I have 2 people conspiring against me. I saw Maddie and Marcy telling people to vote for each other. Like, that's totally fine. I get it. Like, hey, everyone. Like, I'm not, hey, like, ladies. Like, I'm not saying I'm not ready to be double teamed, but like, say wish you would ask each other. Like, you just gotta, like, just give me a second.
Can we get him
like,
canceled off the panel? Can we cancel him?
No.
Well, yes, you can. The audience cannot vote for him, but the audience voted him number 3.
I'm like,
sorry, they're too busy simping for his muscles and not his brain power.
Hey, what's wrong with both? Like, I got everything you want. Like,
I'm sorry, you can't be Captain America and Tony Stark.
I'm learning how to.
Yes,
I'm learning how to pole dance. So we'll see who has more lean muscle.
Damn.
We'll see.
Oh, shit.
I'm not sure if I can push it more. Like, I think I still
lessons.
can. Like, I can. Wait, I can do. Wait, 1 second. Everyone, like, watch my screen for a second. Like, give me some, like.
boy.
Ready?
Okay. Well, fascinating work.
I love you, Prime. I love you so much.
So we'll go to the bottom 3. Third from the bottom, we have Sam. Sam, oh wow, it's heartbreaking. Yeah, who would have thought? Sam, but hopefully he'll survive the reckoning. Next is Nine Tails. Second from the bottom. How could that happen? Honestly, you're great. I don't know why. And then very last, that'll be Seek. Seek. We hope for the best here. But
no, I'm out.
Well, hey, you never know. Because now is where it gets interesting. We have 3 people at the bottom, 2 people at the top. 1 person, or well, 2 people will be eliminated here. 1 person will stick around, okay? And that is in the hands of Marcy and Maddie. So Sam, Nine Tails, Killer Seek, you will get on your knees. You will beg these 2 women, these 2 queens, for the right to stick around. And Ninetales, oh sorry, excuse me, and Maddie and Marcy will DM me, not say, you'll DM me in Discord, right? And you'll tell me which of these people you want eliminated. But first, we'll let them make their case. So, Sam, why should Marcy have mercy on you?
So I only had a couple hours to prepare for this panel. I've been finishing up schoolwork, and this is the one topic that I didn't prepare for. And every other topic, I have spicy takes. Okay, I promise we can make banger content. If you keep me on, I'll make sure the rest of the night is great.
Okay, all right. Next, Ninetales.
Oh, it turns out I was unmuted that entire time. That's amazing. Yeah, so both, first of all, I'm not even sucking up. You both look great. Great job. I'm kind of jealous. I actually don't want to stay. Like I said, I ate gluten earlier, and it's hitting me harder than I thought it would.
Well, if you don't want to stay, have a good night. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, seriously, I have no problem leaving. But I need you both to like conspire with each other to not both vote for me off, because I don't want to choose between Sam and Killer Sig. I actually think you should, as much as I love Sam, and I'm sad to hear he's prepared, and I've been in the same boat. I think if you kept Killer Sig, you'd have like lots of fresh bait around, and so that's just my suggestion. But yeah, I had fun with this debate, so I'm just glad I got to be here for this.
So wait, I've got a question really quick. Are you like leaving so you're not in the votes, or?
I'm asking one of you to vote me out, but not both, because if you both vote me out, then I have to pick who it is, and I can't.
Okay.
All right. So, Killer Sig, you've been endorsed. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty great. I guess it's pretty nice when I'm the minority here for the first time in my life. I am one of the few right-wingers onto a panel. So it feels pretty good. But to be honest, I've talked to Ninetales quite a few times, and every time I always had some great discussions with her. I think we talked about homeless crisis once and stuff like that. It's more just me saying she's a really cool person. And you guys should also try to keep me on, because John from New York City said to keep me in chat.
Well, okay then. Hey, you've heard John. Who would want to go against him? He's so lovable. All right. Anyway.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know who we are? We're Chin and Rajong. Like, keep him. Like.
Okay. All right. Marcy, Maddie, you will DM me. You will send me an individual DM. You will let me know which individual shall be eliminated. Okay.
Okay. Oh man.
All
it's
right.
like the opposite of super straight discourse. I'm choosing between two boys.
Okay. And
Super trans.
Okay. All right. The votes are in. The votes are in. I forgot to put on the music. Whatever. I'll do it now. Okay. Spooky music. So, among the two, all right, fine. There's like no, there's no suspense. Ninetales will be leaving, and then for the second one though, oh man, did you listen to her recommendation? Did her fulfill her final wish? No, they did not. See, you're going with her. So, so Sam,
come on, we gotta conspire together now.
Sam is safe. So, Ninetales, give yourself an outro.
Okay. Thank you very much. I believe that was Maddie. You've saved me. I'm Ninetales. I think I have my Twitter ready on my. Yes, I do. On my clipboard, and there it is in chat. It's probably a delay. I don't do Twitch, even though thank you for the shout out, Prime. But I will actually be trying to do more one-on-one and 2v2 debates down the road with modern day debate. I recently done some last year, but then I got out of it. And B-More is also pointing to a Twitch I don't really use, but thank you again. And yeah, mostly I feel like this voting from the audience was a little sad. You let me down. I definitely prepare more than most of the people who come on these panels, but I love you all. Thank you for having this discussion with me. And if you do want to see me shine, follow my Twitter. You'll hear about my debates on Modern Day Debates, where I have like weeks to prepare, and I'll slay my opponent. I guarantee it. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.
Good
Bye
night,
bye.
Ninetales.
Bye, Ninetales.
Get some sleep.
Be well. Be safe.
Next, Killer C. Killer C. Give the world an outro.
Well, I gotta be honest. I'm a lot like Santa Claus when people kick me off of panels. I make a list of those that did me wrong. I check it twice, and I will be coming once a year to
Is
make
that all
sure
the-
that list is crossed off.
The
Like,
list is basically
can't-
just all lefties.
I
nice.
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait
all-
to
it's-
see you coming down my chimney.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that on stream
Surprise.
because that might get me TOS'd. But I'll definitely be coming for you. You're currently the first two lefties on my list, besides Mr. Geek, because he's kicked me off his panels
And just
for
coming after
being
women,
too
aren't you?
based.
I can't
Oh.
wait. It's gonna be such a good time.
Your name is C. You're getting kicked off panels.
say, like-
Ooh,
like-
ooh, I'm getting a
dude.
vibe from you, buddy.
I know,
I'm
like,
Mm.
have a good
Yeah, I
night.
said some pretty awful stuff over
I
here
know.
tonight. Careful.
I'm sorry, my friend. Prost. Like, be well.
I agreed with a lot of your points. I just didn't love your prolific use of racial slurs. I thought that was a little.
I'm so sorry.
I wasn't a big
didn't
fan
know
of
that.
those trans slurs either.
Oh, good googly moogly.
Oh boy.
You're
But you
like,
guys are okay with
That's
the
why you're getting kicked
anti-Jewish
off.
stuff, right?
Okay.
Like, that's okay still?
What?
Sorry.
What?
joke.
Oh boy. Anyway, it's probably best you
I
leave
didn't
now.
hear
I don't
anything.
know. Anyway, thanks for being here, Killer.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one. Thanks. All right. So, thanks all so much.
I can see everybody's faces
We
now.
will be going to the next topic. And again, if you just found the channel, hey, we're running this little game show type thing. It's based on politics. If you want to be a part of it, hit that follow button. Hit that follow button right now. Hit that notification bell so you know I'm going live, because we do this all the time. Well, not the game show, but other stuff all the time. All right. So moving on. Next topic. As we've recently seen, video footage can be invaluable to solving crimes, as with the George Floyd murder. So, should America and other nations step up surveillance by installing video cameras in public areas to help gather evidence and track down criminals? 35 minutes left on the clock. Go ahead.
No, that's really dumb. We have a lot of people standing around all the time with fucking cell phone cameras and flashlights. Often in a crowd, there are 3 people filming police brutality as it happens. We definitely do not need, I mean, body cams, absolutely, because cops need to be held accountable for the shit they do while they're on the clock, right? But random surveillance cameras, there's literally no point, because as we've already seen at these riots, people serve as their own surveillance cameras. We don't need to increase the surveillance state to diminish an already very low threat of terrorism domestically, right? I think there are better ways to address these problems, and I think the best way we can address these problems is just making sure that if you see some shit going down, you're over there with your camera, you know, because that shit saved the fuck out of the Derek Chauvin verdict. If we didn't have that video evidence, he would have never fucking seen court. All right.
Yeah, so there's also another aspect
Wait.
here.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We shouldn't rely
I
on people that are like carrying around their cell phones to make video. Like having closed circuit TV is like a huge deal. It seems like it protects against like property crimes, like huge amounts, lowers it to like only about 13% before from previous. So only about 13% of burglars say that if there was CCTVs everywhere that were interviewed, that they would continue to do, like they would continue the burglary if they were found out that it was CCTV. So like it seems like this is a huge thing that we could do to like stop like property crimes.
My
Okay,
argument for that is
but-
that we already have video cameras in public, but like for CCTVs outside businesses and all that. But the question is whether we should install more video cameras in public areas. And I think that seems a little bit like a waste of money and a bit of an infringement on people, you know, when we've already got that kind of infrastructure set up. We've got fucking red light cameras, dude. We don't need like 10 surveillance cameras on every street light,
Go ahead.
making sure nobody's doing
Go ahead.
crime.
Maddie, Wordy, then Hans.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Marcy that I don't necessarily think that there is a need for additional infrastructure in public spaces dedicated to closed circuit TV and cameras. I mean, here's the unfortunate reality. It was critical that there was video footage of George Floyd's murder that contributed to getting a guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. But it is so important to remember that that is an anomaly, because in so many other cases where there is video footage, and not even just like from one angle, like damning video footage, too many police officers walk free and are not held accountable for their actions. So I don't buy the argument that more video cameras, especially cameras that are presumably controlled by law enforcement, are going to make us any safer. I think, you know, in the case of property damage, sure, but I think that the trade-off for lowering like property damage, which I think is very often used as a boogeyman, trading that for, you know, adding to a surveillance state, I don't think it's a good trade. And I think it's a way, again, to refuse to hold police accountable and try to put more things in place, to say, oh, well, the reason that people are not safe is because we just don't have enough cameras. And it's like, no, in a lot of cases, it's because the police escalate situations and are violent.
Let's go to Wordy, Hans, Ty, Fowler, and Marcy.
So the primary issue is the surveillance state is going to disproportionately affect poor people and people of color. And because of that, what happens is we have a historical association with criminalization of those groups of people. But the reality is, whenever we increase level of surveillance, we're going to disproportionately affect people who are like poor and like different demographics, all these different factors. The reality, or basically, people as a whole are committing crimes due to a series of environmental conditions. It's not them wanting to do it just because they want to. Like riots happen because either they're aggressive violence by police, or they're like, that's how riots happen. But there's also like people who engage in things like stealing food and stuff. It's because significantly more often that they're hungry. And so therefore engaging like increasing surveillance state is not going to help decrease crime. It basically just going to lock up more people. We're going to have greater incarceration rates. Like our incarceration rates are already insane, and then those like basically increasing the surveillance state, it's just creating another series of problematic conditions for people who are dealing with those realities. Instead of calling them criminals, we basically can call them like people who commit crimes due to their own like conditions that are not their own fault, and therefore we should call more often police criminals, because they often more engage in more physical abuse and like more violence towards people as a whole. And that's why we need more body cam footage as opposed to increasing surveillance state of the entire country.
All right. Next is Hans, Ty, Fowler, and Marcy.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways we can break this down. I think like one of the most helpful ones is distinguishing, like say, public versus private places. In the case of like a private business, no one's stopping them from having, say, like surveillance footage. In the case of private citizens, no one's like say stopping them from having surveillance footage outside their houses. We're talking specifically like, you know, public forum like based areas. And I'm not entirely comfortable like submitting people to greater surveillance. I kind of disagree with Marcy that like in the sense that saying, oh, like everyone has phones, like we're okay. That's not kind of the point. If we're talking about like holding police accountable, like the best way of doing it is obviously just like having more body cameras, making sure that you can't turn them off, like having more cameras like on police vehicles. Like in the case of like say like servants of the state, yeah, we want them to be recorded like at all times. We want to make sure that everything they do is recorded, because like they're, you know, they have the power of life and death over people. So that's one thing. In the case of like a regular citizen who's walking down the street, I don't know why your public life needs to be like completely on like a different recording devices. It's like I'm not a libertarian like at all. I'm like a market socialist, but like when you care about that, I don't think a person has to say sacrifice every instance of privacy, every instance of like their like specific place of being to any entity that happens to have like information like from that public space. Like, yeah, you have like say tracking your phone, but you can turn that off, right? There's plenty of things that we can do, but not making our like public information as public. And like mandating that you have to be say like okay with public surveillance just because you're existing in public areas seems like a bad way of going. Like say like, oh, if you want to like say potentially provide like these surveillance like states, you can say, oh, hey, like any business, any person like at their public place, we can, or at their private like residence, we can provide money for you to like have like this sort of surveillance, but it's like not mandatory. And then obviously like we said before, like, you know, making sure police have body cameras, making sure like, you know, that different like police cars have like cameras on them. That's not like a high level. And I would say also, you know, in the case of like politicians, like, we can like put this all the way up, right? If you're a public servant, everything you do should be public record while you're on the clock. and potentially even off the clock if you're doing like say actual meetings of like serious policy off the clock on there. So survey public servants and people who have a lot of public power, not regular people just living their lives.
Okay, let's go to Ty, Fallen, or Marcy.
Yeah, so while the pro side is very fond of this because we already have a surveillance state, this is actually how we caught Mr. Jerry Friendly, otherwise known as Suspect Sushi. We have him on camera in the Capitol building. We used his cell phone records to realize that he was actually in the building. We already know. We already have this. The question is that do you actually want it when you actually have these results? Well, no, I don't. The reason why is because we have a screwed up criminal justice system. We've heard so much about the anti-police rhetoric here already, which I'm not going to get into. We can talk about race relations and how blind racism basically allows anyone with implicit bias to use the social monitoring system just to absolutely go ham on people that they don't like. Is that something that you want? I would say no. So my general thought here is that while it does have effects and is very, very strong at doing what it does, is that until we have massive criminal justice reform, I say no, down with this.
Okay. Let's go to Fallen or Marcy, Sam, then Wordy.
All right, so I can summarize this pretty simply with examples that have already been provided. Having cameras on police body cams simply don't work. A perfect example actually is Derek Chauvin. Prior to the unfortunate and sad and tragedy of what happened with Floyd, there was actually another case prior to that where Chauvin was caught on his body cam viciously beating a 14-year-old African American with a flashlight, well above and beyond any level of reasonable force, where it was so clear that it was assault with a deadly weapon that there should have been no questions whatsoever. The issue wasn't the fact that it was caught on camera. The issue, like many cases in the Canadian police force right now, where they're actively assaulting 80-plus-year-olds on their own front porch for simply being at their own house with too many people at it, or invading churches and forcing them to shut down in violation of separation of church and state. The issue isn't that it's caught on camera. The issue is the lack of enforcement and the lack of policy enforcement. We could have 101 billion cameras on the planet. If the government selectively enforces regulation, which has been recognized as an issue in Canada, in America, in the UK, where we have heavy policing institutions with body cams and cameras everywhere. Literally, there's not a step or a block on the streets of London you can step on where it doesn't have it on camera. The issue is they still have police brutality. It doesn't solve the problem. It just puts it on camera, in essence, puts it on film. But a perfect example would be Amy Klobuchar. She openly refused to prosecute Chauvin, which is why he was left to then assault other people and eventually kill Floyd. And until that problem specifically is solved, it doesn't matter how many cameras we put and how many places. It's not going to cause any change.
Okay.
Am I agreeing with Valinor? This is amazing.
Valinor is secretly fucking based. I've been saying this since
I'm
my first panel with him. He's super
I'm shook.
We're
I'm
seeing
shook, Valinor.
He owns 9,000 salons. Of course he's smart.
With every pressing day, his salon
has
control
the
becomes
brain
more
power
complete.
to wall mount.
Wait. Just because a person
Face
owns
is
something doesn't mean they're necessarily smart.
I know.
That's
look
where
at
you're
Elon
wrong,
Musk.
Wordy.
I mean, yeah, I own a lot of things, and I'm a dummy.
Let's go to no, you absolutely aren't. That's a lie right there. Let's go to Marcy, Sam, and Wordy.
I told you I lie on my
I just
stream.
want to say, Maddie, I'm dumb as fuck, and I'm owning all the bitches on this panel, so we can keep that in our lexicon. All right. Okay. So Hans, I appreciate you a lot, man, because sometimes I come onto these panels and I say a take that's a little bit dumb, and then someone like you very kindly reminds me, and I'm able to workshop my take a little bit and become even more based and even more powerful with each passing second, right? So you pointed out that my take about the video surveillance being the reason Derek Chauvin was seen in court is bad take, and the idea that people with their phones are going to catch these every time is bad. And I agree with that. I also agree that body cams a lot of the time are not great on their own. The reason Derek Chauvin received his day in court and the reason he was convicted is very simple. Americans have a right to peaceful motherfucking protest, all right? And those fuckers were out there day one, fucking storming people and marching and fucking holding signs up and shit, demanding justice for George Floyd. And if that hadn't happened, if we hadn't had a civil rights explosion in this country this past year, Derek Chauvin would still be free to kill and defile and destroy African-American teenagers and adults alike to this day, right? The government doesn't do things because they're virtuous in their hearts. They do things because of public opinion. It's why I'm a Democrat. I think if more Democrats share my opinions, we'll keep fucking winning, folks. We will get more capital P progressives in the halls of Congress. And I think it's largely the same thing with criminal justice reform. Doesn't matter how many fucking police brutality attacks you get on video. If you don't get people mad about them, you're not going to have anything change at the fundamental level. So I would like to adjust my argument a little bit. I think that a surveillance system with a bunch of CCTV everywhere would allow more crackdown on nonviolent offenders, primarily, poor people, drug addicts, sex workers, trans people, POC, all of whom should have all of the rights to privacy that the rest of us do. You don't get less privacy because you're poor. That's fucking dystopian. But I do think that if we are, as a society, going to curb the issue of police violence, we need to get madder, and we need to keep people mad, and we need to, very important, peacefully protest. All right. Let the Nazis make it violent. They're very good at that. We can peacefully protest.
Sam, Woody, Hans.
Yeah, so I agree with the peaceful protesting and everything, but I want to go back to the surveillance. So just because there's all these other problems that might be affecting surveillance, it doesn't mean that surveillance itself is innately bad, right? If we can look at like the Boston bombing, the surveillance and CCTV was used to trace the Boston bomber and eventually catch him. So these are things that we can use. So even if, and again, poor people not having a right to privacy is 100% correct, but the cameras aren't the problem here. Them being poor is the problem. If we could address that, then the cameras in public areas wouldn't bother them. It wouldn't be as big of a problem. So I think you're trying to pass off the idea of people being poor as like a problem with cameras, and I don't see it.
All right, so
It's a problem with them being targeted.
Yeah, it's a problem with the fact that
it gives police more ammo and like surveillance in order to target, and especially if it's going to be in public areas. Who are people that are in public areas the most? At least here in San Francisco, a lot of the people that take up most space in public areas and use them are people who are unhoused, people who like don't have access necessarily to private spaces in the same way that other people would. So I think what we're saying is that like people who are impoverished or are already marginalized are already being disproportionately targeted by the police, and increasing the amount of surveillance in public spaces where those people are more likely than others to be in and to utilize, that gives the police state more ammo to further target those people.
I want to jump on that really.
Sure, but
Wait.
This is
Sam, go ahead, respond.
Yeah, but I want to make a prescription independent. I understand it's kind of hard, but I want to make a prescription independent of this, right? I do want to improve the police system, and I would love to stop them from targeting poor people and black people and all the minority groups that they target. But I think that like giving them a tool, giving a police a tool, once we fix these issues, that can help them track people who commit violent crimes and stop non-violent crimes will be overall helpful. And so in public areas where there's high foot traffic, it seems like those cameras are a very, very helpful tool.
Let's go to Woody, Hans, Fallner, and then Marcin.
The problem here is you can't meaningfully separate the police state as it is from the institutionalized racism that exists within it, right? Institutionalized classism that also exists. What happens is significantly, one is people of color, like black people, are significantly more arrested more often than any other demographic as a whole, and therefore they are being directly targeted. Like, we have significant evidence because they are being targeted as a whole, and this is not necessarily an independent process. What happens is these institutions all like blend into each other. You can't meaningfully distinguish them because they all exist in itself. And yes, you can address the living conditions of the working class and people of color as a whole. You can address that. But the problem is it doesn't take away from the institutionalized racist policies that continue to exist within the police as a whole. And therefore, increasing surveillance across for like people as a whole. Property crime is a series of needs and conditions itself. but you can address that. But what happens is increasing, putting more power into the state as a whole, basically is not going to resolve people's own harm itself. It's going to increase the amount of harm. It's going to increase incarceration rates. It's going to increase recidivist rates, because we've seen this happen. It's because and there's also the fact that body cam footage, you can say body cam footage doesn't decrease amount of police brutality, but having the transparency itself fundamentally makes them more accountable to the public. What happens is, before we had body cam footage, we had things like Emmett Till, we had the Juneteenth happen, and these things happen, and they got away with it because we've had less than 1,000 full-on charges of people, of police officers as a whole, and now we've had 36 convicted, and Derek Chauvin's the 36th from what I read. And so therefore the reality is, having the body cam footage increases transparency and allows for greater accountability. This way we can more meaningfully address the issue. And my say is, we need to abolish the police, and as a whole abolish the state. This is a product of state control.
Let's go to Hans, Fallenor, Marcy.
All right, so Wordy brought up a lot of really good points for falling off a cliff there at the end. So specifically, if we're talking about meaningful reforms we can do right now, right?
I'm flying.
And that's totally fine. I'll get to you in a second, right? Let me give you props first before I dunk on you. So specifically, if we're dealing with specific reforms for the state, I don't think massive surveillance of regular people at an even higher level that we currently have is a good idea. There's plenty of surveillance that everyone on this panel has already agreed to, whether it's body cameras, whether it's greater surveillance of a cop drawing their firearms. There's a ton of stuff that we have that is specific surveillance of public servants, not regular people. Because as already explained, there's a lot of socioeconomic stuff that goes into surveillance of poor people, right? Or say, I don't want someone say on this panel, they want to run for office in 3 years. There's a public camera footage of them jaywalking, which is a crime in some places, and now something their entire campaign's been torpedoed, right? This is always going to be used haphazardly. And so in the case of the specific one, I don't want to give the state greater power without say reforming, or in Wordy's case breaking down those institutions. At the same time, I don't think the abolishment of police stuff is kind of relevant to this conversation. We can all meme about abolishing the police in the state and having perfect anarcho-communism at some point in the future. But right now, there's a lot of amazing reforms we can do in fixing the issue of the police, giving massive public surveillance power beyond what they already presently possess of regular people is not one of them. So there's a ton of stuff that we can do that do not involve this. And if we're talking about giving people the power to record themselves, right? I've already suggested giving either private entities or businesses or even individuals the ability to record their places of living or their business. That's up to them. But I am not comfortable giving that much power to the state when the current power structure is already pushed in so bad ways. I would say in terms of the olive branch provided for Sam, I can totally get what you say. If we can say fix the broken infrastructures of the police as they exist, right? If we have perfect knowledge, right, in terms of stopping bad people from doing bad things, I totally agree with you. Just right now, our current criminal justice system does not do that. So until we can get that, I would probably table this specific thing.
Yeah, of course.
Not give the state. Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, so we totally agree. Sam and I are based on that one. Bordy, again, I really appreciate your specific critiques, but again, let's focus on stuff that we're doing right now as opposed to police abolishment.
I was just trying to basically incorporate it within the broad category of my policy as a whole.
I got you. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just not a man. Yeah,
you're fine. We'll turn you one soon. Don't worry.
No,
you're
not. I promise. I'm sorry.
Let's go to.
As long as I'm here, we'll do it.
The only thing I'm abolishing is this drink.
Fallenor, he's been waiting very patiently. Fallenor, then Marcy. And we have 13 minutes left, so time is running out. We're already halfway through it, so.
So to respond to a few things all at once, 3 statements. Number 1, trans people are people, not a crime under U.S. criminal code. Walking while trans, it's just not a thing. Number 2, we throw away 40 to 60% of all food that we produce as a country. We should stop throwing away both it and the poor people who can't afford it. It solves multiple civil and criminal problems simultaneously. And the third item is there is no difference in paying someone to have sex and paying someone to have sex. Legalizing sex work simply recognizes what we've already legalized and legitimized. I see no distinctive difference between the porn industry and the sex work industry, and I don't know why we've treated it differently for a very, very long time.
I'm
when
so
did
confused.
you get
What?
so based?
Wait,
like
wait,
I don't
wait,
know. Where the fuck
Wait,
did
wait,
this
what?
come
How
from?
is?
Like,
Wait,
like,
wait, 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 wait. Why is this on topic? I'm so confused. What's going on
I am
here?
also
Wait,
confused.
it's-
but, like,
I'll-
I'm here
I'll-
for it. Legalize
Hey,
sex work. Legalize
he's
trans people.
It's not
like,
on
let's
topic,
go.
but
Like,
we all
come on.
agree on the topic,
No,
so we need to move it.
He's
into
responded.
something.
I think he's responding to something I said about sex workers earlier.
No, the reason why it's on topic is because the biggest concern for the cameras is that it will disproportionately impact nonviolent crimes, and this substantially addresses all of those simultaneously.
Okay.
Based Fallen Hour.
Okay.
Baseball.
Well,
I
then
have no rebuttal. I'm in.
then
We will
we'll
wait till
go-
you yet.
We'll go to Marcy. And Marcy, I'm sure will have something to say. But remember, everyone, and then Hans. And if you haven't talked much, then just know the time's running out. Marcy.
I'll be as concise as possible. I promise, Prime. Really quick, Fallen Hour. I wasn't implying that police would be arresting trans people for just like being trans, but I was saying there's a lot of poor trans people who are homeless. We are very. It's disproportionate how many trans people are.
Oh,
homeless.
I know you're not. I'm saying that I am saying they are doing that, and I find it disgusting.
Oh, they are. Oh, yeah. No, because they assume you're a sex worker. Yeah, it's
We
gross.
stand, Falinor. We stand.
We stand. We do stand. But okay, really quick. I have two people I want to respond to. Wordy, police abolition. I'm sure that's a great goal when we've all gotten our issues out and we're all hunky dory. But for now, if a white supremacist comes along and bashes my degenerate head in, I want that guy to be taken off the streets so he can't do it to anybody else.
There are ways you can do that without using the police.
Right. Yeah. But in the society we exist in right now, it would be a little bit hard to uproot the police totally and still hold those people accountable. So that's that,
We need
right?
to take away their funding.
Sam, all right, Sam.
Oh, fuck off with this.
Let's have a conversation about this, Sam.
Sure.
What you said about cameras catching, like, don't blame cameras for people being poor and suffering or whatever. That's a great argument for a hypothetical world where we don't have prisons crowded with immigrant sex workers soon to be deported, drug addicts who are going to relapse as soon as they're back on the streets because we've criminalized their mental health condition, and mentally ill homeless people who are screaming at a family and were taken to jail instead of getting proper medical care because of goddamn Ronald Reagan and his goddamn bullshit from 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever, right? So we can talk about that. We can all talk about that, all right? But the issue that I have with what you're saying is that in the current world we live in, these are the people who would be caught by the cameras, and we do not need more homeless addicts, crazy people, and sex workers in our prisons, right? We have overcrowded prisons. I am all for doing what we can to make sure we get people who are actually like dangerous to society in those prisons, and people who are dangerous to themselves or maybe doing things that are unhealthy or whatever into proper treatment venues. So I like your argument in a hypothetical society that's better than the one we live in right now. But for realism's sake, adding to the surveillance state is a fucking stupid idea. That's what I say.
Hey, can I respond?
Listen,
Since you-
wait. I am always told that I always take the realist perspective, and that's what I do every time I'm on a Prime panel. The one time I take it into the
Well, let's put
hypothetical world where I
quotations.
want to just talk about these hypotheticals, I get railed on. That's all I'm saying, okay, Prime? This is why I stay in the real world.
What's it
So wait.
like to
I
get
wanna
railed?
I wanna
I'm
respond
sorry that
because
you
she
decided to
came
go
at
into
me.
fairy dust land when it's time to talk about some real shit.
Sorry, you
like,
stepped.
maybe you should just stay out of fairy dust land, son.
I'm gonna flip it up
really
and then
sorry. There's a lot of people here talking about some real shit, and you just the one to go off into some whatever magic
Captain America,
place
the
you
extension of the police
Yeah,
state.
we're here.
Listen,
we can make this a real
serious-
conversation. I'm going after Wordy here for being like, yeah, let's just defund the police. Fuck that shit.
Can
Let's
we
fund the
okay,
police.
like, ignore that conversation? We have a real talk
Tiberius
about
funding the
This is
police.
a circle
we
jerk.
can-
We all
we
get
can-
in on this
We
shit.
already
Let's do something
like
that we actually
everyone
disagree
says
on.
no defund right now. We get it. We get it. Like that this is not the conversation we're having.
No, I do
We all
want to
agree
make
on
the
this.
Move
point
back to
here
surveillance.
because Marcy
No, we
came
already
at me, and
agree
I
on
want
this.
to
Let's
clarify
have
something.
something that's
There's a
fun
way
for
we
the last
can
10
meaningfully
minutes.
address the criminalization of people, and we can also like basically figure out a way like through community organization. We don't have to rely on the police. You're putting too much faith in the police, and by having the police exist as
Oh
a
yes,
whole.
let's go back to vigilante justice. That sounds like a great
No,
idea.
fuck off, man. You want to go through a
Yeah.
straw man, and you can straw man all you want. That's not an accurate record.
Well, then
reflection.
tell me what you're wanting, because you're like, hey, we're not going to use the police. Well, what else is there?
You basically have people acting on a community level, right? People organize together, and they very much give a very few select people the power like in this instance, basically putting power into the group itself instead of putting the power into the police, putting the power on the local level. And this, therefore,
wait, Wordy. Wait, Tiberius, really quick. I have to address this.
I don't care.
I have to address this. He's responding to me. I have to address this.
No, I'm responding to both of you at this point because you're both
All right, Tiberius, and then Marcy.
You want to fight? Let's fight.
Yeah, all right. So we already have this. Now you can talk about different levels of community.
You already have this?
Yeah, it's literally called the fucking police, dude.
No, the police don't act on a local level. They are organized along city and state levels, like sheriffs and counties and all that stuff.
What is your local level, dude? That is municipal fucking government.
That's not necessary. No.
What, you want your little township to have a particular police department?
But the reality is, the municipal police answer to like sheriffs and all that stuff, acting on a county level. That's not acting on a local level. They're
which are voted for by the local populace.
That's not even a guarantee you're able to. You don't choose police officers. You may choose the sheriff, and even then, your limited options for choosing the sheriff is non-functionary because like significant amounts of counties themselves even just have like one choice of a sheriff. It's not an actual democratic choice itself. What happens is you have the manufactured consent. Basically, you can theoretically choose one sheriff, but that's like choosing in USSR like the one Russian president. It's the same thing.
Okay, if people don't run against for whatever reason, that's on the community itself. You have to participate. You have to play. I'm sorry, that's how the real world
the question
works.
you have to ask is why are they not participating in their community? Because they've been alienated from local politics and they've been unable to vote in itself, and that's why we have a greater accumulation of power.
It could be anyone. Yeah, there's some people that are alienated that can't run. Yeah, we can get in that.
It's not just some people. It's not just some people. This is like
everyone
fundamentally
oppressed?
like why
are you one of these people that like have to save everybody? Is that where we're going with this?
What are you saying?
Wordy. Before this gets off the fucking rail, I gotta say something to Wordy. I gotta fucking get this out there. All right, Wordy. That I don't know anything about what Tiberius is talking about. They're on a whole different wavelength. All right, Wordy. I have to know first of all, what are your pronouns?
Any pronouns, like he, they, she. I don't care.
Okay,
it may be a horse blood if you feel like it, but that's not really
awesome. Wordy. Do you prefer king or queen?
I don't use either. I'm a gender anarchist.
All right, monarch. Listen to me. All right, monarch.
Oh God. Please, no gods, no masters.
We're gonna have a goddamn conversation really quick because I was raised in bumfuck, racist ass, homophobic ass rural Idaho.
I live in Arkansas, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. Community policing in racist ass bumfuck rural Idaho is a terrible fucking idea. If a black guy or a trans woman or a young gay kid gets like fucking beaten with rocks in bumfuck Idaho, do you think community police are going to do something about that? Or do you think a strong federal or state organization with concrete laws about what you can and can't do to people is going to do that better?
But the federal state organizations already have those happen, and it's not meaningfully addressed as it is. We've seen like with George Floyd, they fucking like black people get killed even though we have federal organization centralization of power.
But what you're saying is we should go back to like a city, state, village model.
God, no. What you're misunderstanding here is that I want like to build things like mutual aid. I want people like demographics, like for example, while white people like white supremacists and all that shit do exist, if we like are able to effectively like empower people of color, this way they can defend themselves.
And that's great in concept, but in Idaho there are like 3 people of color. In the town I grew up in, there were literally 4 black kids I went to school with. If one of them had gone missing and we were under like the supreme like community council policing, nobody would ask questions because all the people would be fucking racist boomers or active Nazis on the council, right? I don't think this is a good idea, and I especially don't think this is a good idea in a post-Trump America, exactly in this current year right now. I think what we should be focusing on right now is reforming the shit out of the police.
But the reform itself, we've reformed the system itself, and we've maybe decreased. No. Let me finish.
I have to jump in. All right.
Wait.
I've been waiting so long.
Falnor have been waiting, and then we'll go to Maddie and Hans.
I'll back off a little bit. I'll push the brakes back.
And you got to be quick because we're running out of time. So Falnor.
So my immediate issue with the comparative of the use of federal versus localized police is that if people are racist or transphobic or homophobic, it doesn't matter if it's at the state level or the federal level. The problem is still the same. It's the individual, not the enforcement of the collective institution. The issue with that is if individuals in power have these particular dispositions to either over enforce or under enforce based on their personal ideologies. Like with, for instance, again, going back to current cases, I think it's Amy Klobuchar, I think is what her name was. She was a DA, like the DA of the state, and she refused to prosecute. So that's a state level issue. You take it to federal, it could be the same problem. Until we address that issue particularly, it doesn't matter if we enforce with the state police, we enforce with the local police or the space police. It's still the same problem.
Space police.
So let's go to
I like
Maddie
that.
and Hans.
The space police. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, one thing I think is critical, especially as lefties, when we're discussing policy, even if we have this ideological, like utopian ideal that sort of serves as our North Star, I think it's important for us, especially in the context of like the folks here. I acknowledge that I'm coming from a place of privilege. So I have the privilege of being able to muse about that like philosophical theory. Whereas for people that are in like marginalized communities who are right now being victimized and brutalized and traumatized by the police, like they don't like to try to argue that like, oh, we should be pushing for this like ideal. They need help right now. So it is critical that everything we do and what we're discussing is rooted in the idea of harm reduction and ensuring that we are not giving the police any leeway or tools to continue and more easily brutalize and traumatize these marginalized people. So to like go back to what I assumed this conversation was about, I don't know what happened. I blacked out for a second.
I'll go back.
Like during or like after the flexing? Like
there was a lot of yelling, and then everything went dark, and then I returned when the yelling stopped, and it was like, okay, and we're back. But I think, you know, with the question of closed circuit TV and making that an investment in our infrastructure that we have in more in public spaces all over the country, I think that would be a massive mistake. I think it would serve to protect private property owners that are adjacent to public spaces more than it would protect actual citizens. I think it would drive more criminalization of non-violent offenders. And I think that it would not actually make the police act any safer or stop brutalizing people, and instead would just give them the ability to continue targeting those they are already fucking targeting.
Hans, final word on this. Make it quick.
Thanks so much. Going back, like I want to delve into something that Marcy said earlier that was extremely fucking based. Like, right, when we talk about say community policing, like or like community like watchers, right, as opposed to like the traditional police force. Marcy came from a rural area. I also came from a rural area. Having people who just like control like the existing like social power inside a given place as the police is not the answer to like fixing like levels of police brutality. At that point, you're essentially like, you know, giving like many people in the South like over to like people who would like very much be okay with lynching them, right? Whether they're black, whether they're a trans woman, like there's a ton of shit that like we cannot just say like, oh, community policing, like that'll solve everything, bro. And it's like, no, it won't. Right now, like again, like even if I like grant you that yes, police abolition in the far future with like whatever like space communist stuff we have like is totally based, in the moment, the best thing we can do is broad like both federal, state, and local reforms for existing police departments that like maintain like that stop their like most horrific behavior. I get that the institution of the police has been like completely tarnished in American history, and I'm not trying.
That's how it's designed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I get it. Slave catchers. I've read that too. I was a history major in college. I get it. So when we're trying to fix that, right? We can't just say, oh yeah, it was bad. Let's delete it right now and then pretend like everything will get better. No, let's try and stop like the worst aspects of it while we try and build something better. That is the critical component of like how our process works. If we just say police gone, like they tried that. I'm pretty sure after Floyd's death, they like abolished the police department and they had to put it back in place. You know what would have been better than performally abolishing it? If they had put in like crazy amounts of reforms and like stopgaps to make sure that they couldn't have another Derek Chauvin ever. That's what we needed. And like again, we all want to LARP, we all want to meme, abolish the police, super fucking cool, very based. Let's stop the police fucking killing people and fix it until we can, like, you know, get that community policing that we all deserve.
Thank you.
Awesome. I want to respond so badly.
And now I'm gonna go back to purple because like that was angry Hans, and now we're back to bisexual lighting Hans because like
you're
angry.
So I want to
love
thank
the bisexual lighting.
I want to thank Chud Logic for being so kind as to raid the channel with 39 individuals. Thank you, Chud Logic. I'm not sure if you're still here, but you know we love you, buddy. And thanks for being so kind to help us out. If you're part of Chud's crew, my name is Prime. We're doing these panels. We're having a game show type thing here, elimination type game show. So we're about to go into elimination round. Stick around. Follow the channel. We have not done so before. We do give you content like this all the time. Don't want you to miss out. Hit that follow button right now. Hit that notification bell so you know I'm going live. Thank you very much again, Chud Logic. All right. So we're going into our elimination round, and we're going to be voting. Everyone, once again, vote now. Don't wait because your favorite will be tossed off, right? So you're going to be voting for which of these individuals you want to stay, you want to move on to the next round, not who you want to go, who you want to stay, not who you want to keep, not who you want to kick, okay? So you're going to be voting for whoever's the most interesting, the most funny, the most entertaining. Doesn't matter what it is, what your metrics are. Vote for that person. All you have to do is vote quickly and don't wait, because if you do, then your vote will not count. Don't fucking complain at me afterwards because I don't give a shit. All right, so I'm going to put the link in chat. I will put the link in chat in a second, and yeah, vote from there. And we'll put 5 minutes on the clock. You have 5 minutes to vote. Don't fuck around. All right, link is in chat. Link is in chat. Vote. Now I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. No complaining afterwards. Okay. Yeah.
Is it the elimination round right now?
Oh, I mean, it's we're waiting for the
cool.
But before you do say anything, hey everyone, just so you know, we give you a lot of content here. 6 days a week we give you content. So if you want to help us out, you can sub to the channel. We haven't currently sub. We're always looking, always need more support here. You can donate bits to the channel. You can use our PayPal button below. We have a PayPal button. Help us out. Help us get our April donation goal. We are not even close, but if you can help us out, April donation goal you can see on that side of your screen. Help us out with that. And we have a Patreon, / Patreon in chat, / Patreon. Help us out there. All kinds of ways to help the channel, or / donate. One or the other. But help out this channel. We're giving you a lot of content, so thank you. Thank you, Your Environment Seattle, for being so kind and gift 100 bits to the channel. Okay, we got 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left the clock.
All right, so Fallen Hour, I just want to say something to you. I mean this with the utmost respect. The utmost respect.
Here comes the insult.
No, it's not an insult. This is I'm having a sincerity moment. I'm not even irony poisoned. I'm sincerity pilled. All right. I think that since I first met you on the Hippy Dippy recruitment, you have become so fucking based, my guy. Holy shit. Holy shit, this panel, it's just based Fallen Hour take after based Fallen Hour take. We love to see it. We love to see it. We do. Were you always this based? Have you changed at all? Was I tripping?
Didn't you just hide? Were you just hiding it?
Like,
you were just
were you
He was hiding his power level.
Yeah,
he was hiding his power level behind his salons, dude.
He was acting at 0.5% of his power level. He went full Shaggy mode.
Were you crypto based?
I'm full on
All of his properties.
Were you crypto based?
Yeah, like genuinely, like he's so fucking good. Fallen Hour, genuinely, I fucking love you, dude. You're the best.
Just does the easy right winger thing. Go ahead.
Power levels. It looks like Hans has turned into the fucking Ginyu Force. He's flexing so much over there.
It's like,
yeah, every time Hans, every time,
they are the Ginyu Force.
Oh my god! Every time Hans gets fucking destroyed in the polls, his shirt comes off a little more.
No, no, no.
I,
Everyone in chat, every time
No,
I
every
survive a
time
round,
one of
one
his
more button
pets
just
goes-
explodes.
Everybody
And
go
now,
vote,
when we get to the
Hey,
end,
hey,
and when I
Hans,
Every
win
Hans.
time
again,
his
we will
pecs
see
flex
the
and
full
one goes
peak
up and the other
of
goes
my
down.
power.
And he
Hans,
never
if
gets
you-
open.
Go
if you
vote,
wanna-
go vote Marcy 2024 to support the
Yeah.
future of social work and also trans people and also puppies and kittens, which I have. I'm gonna go pee again. Bye.
Vote for Wordy because Wordy understands the police fucking suck and they need to be done away with.
We all agree the police suck. We just don't want to abolish them.
Thank
the
you.
difference.
Yeah, it's like
So
I want like if we can get like a reasonable alternative that like is possible.
But if
in
but if
the
you let the
fucking
police
political environment, then
exist,
yes,
you're
but,
being
like,
police cucks, basically.
we have
Shit.
less
Oh man!
than
Oh gosh! Like
Look at
wow,
that baby go out with the
Man,
bathwater.
we
I tell
have
you.
less than 2
Why,
minutes
like,
left.
why,
We have,
why aren't you revolutionizing
we have
right
less
now?
than-
Like,
shut
why
up.
aren't you storming
Whoa.
the Capitol? Like,
Shut
hey,
up.
like I feel like you're a
Shut
cuck right now
up.
too.
Holy shit.
You're just
I'm-
not
You-
trying hard
whoa,
You
enough.
realize if
Like,
we
why
try
would
to
you
implement a
follow
revolution
us?
right now, it's not going to go well.
US.
Like Jesus Christ.
Okay. Anyway,
Sorry,
guys,
I didn't.
I'll meet you, Hans. So yes, we have
Yeah.
2 minutes left on the clock. Less than 2
Yeah,
minutes. We have 90
shut up,
seconds
Hans. Nobody wants to
Um,
listen.
left on the
Damn.
clock, guys. You gotta vote. You gotta vote right now because your favorite hero
Also,
is gonna get
Hans,
tossed.
if you-
did not, please, well, me too. If you did not vote last time, right, then your favorite got tossed. That's your fault, not my fault. Vote right this second. Don't wait to vote. Don't wait later. Vote right now. We have less than a minute left on the clock. Vote right this second to keep your person around, or they will be up for elimination, and that will be up to you. So vote right this second. Okay.
My most base takes are gonna be on the next topic. I'm excited for it.
It depends. Which one is the next topic? Because we got 2 left, don't we?
It's supposed to be. Which one's the Obamacare? When's that one coming?
That's
I,
one. I also have I have a good takes for that.
I decide those on the fly.
my takes
So
are
garbage.
yeah.
Understood.
I'm gonna destroy the polluters conversation. So
All right, Hans. Just so you know, if you want your shirt to explode, you got to stop wearing like an XX extra large. You got to wear like an X, like a large.
Right.
He's
Also-
muted.
yeah, he's still muted.
Also, like if you buy clothing that's specifically for strippers, that they're made to come off like super easily. So buy it like one size too small. Buy stripper clothing because then you can just and let me tell you the reaction. It's worth it when you see the reaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
She's back.
we are reloading. We are reloading, and after I reload, doesn't matter if you voted afterwards. I don't give a shit. That's your fault. We will just go with the votes that we have. All right. So the votes are in. The votes are in. Okay. All right. So at the top, interestingly enough, is Maddie. Maddie, yes, #1, who spent a significant portion of the last round literally just posing. She just literally
Yeah.
posed for the camera. While everyone else was yelling, she was just posing. This is her blackout period. She was just posing.
Yeah.
This is what you do
I
when
was
you're
gonna say, was I doing that? I don't.
when your conscious phase. That's what happens. All right. Well, you
So
vogue
weird.
basically. You do vogue. All right. Nice work. And she trades places with Marcy. Marcy again, #2. Wow. Okay. Wow. Amazing work.
The same number as poop.
Indeed.
That is true.
Indeed.
Because I'm the shit.
Okay.
Damn.
And so among the final the bottom three, we have Wordy. Somehow I admit to bottom three, don't know how that happened, but it did. And we're heartbroken on it. Tied for last place. Both Ty and Fallen Order. Oh no.
Anti-right bias. Anti-right bias.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what's gonna happen? Is that you three will beg the 2 queens at the top. If you can get two people to stay. All right. So 2 of you will be eliminated, and 1 of you will be able to stay. But it's up to these 2 who goes. So I will give you a moment to 30 seconds or so to beg. And Wordy, why is Maddie the most beautiful woman in the world? What are all your reasons for that?
Thank you. This is an important question.
Oh, you're muted. All right, I don't know.
Oh, you're still muted, honey.
Yeah, you can't. Okay, well, okay. Oh, off to Ty. Apparently, he had no reason. He apparently doesn't agree with me that Maddie.
Okay, no. Okay, wait, my voice is back. Can I talk?
No, stop. Unmute yourself and fucking. You're muted and.
I did unmute myself.
Oh my god! Holy shit! God damn it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me
Now
now?
you're fine. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck was happening there. Okay. So 30 seconds. See, I am your ally because we both recognize the fundamental issue of the police as a whole. What happens is I am willing to push you up and keep you in account because without my opinions here, we could fall to easy moderation. And the reality is if we fall to moderate reforms, we're not going to cause systemic change as a whole. We will need people like me in order to advocate. This way you can more effectively bargain for your positions. And two, this way we can actually address the issues as a whole, because I view it as a systemic issue as institutions, while you may isolate it itself. If we can work together, we can meaningfully cause real change instead of just going into lactose change that often like liberals go into and unwillingly engage in.
Okay. All right. Next, Ty.
All right, yeah, I'm not gonna kiss up to you. Is that I want to fight you guys, and if I'm not here, then I can't fight you. But that being said, is that if you guys want to go with the right wing bias thing, you can kick me and Fallenor off. You guys can have your left wing circle jerk. That would work fine, and I can just go do something better. But if you want to fight, if you want to actually make this interesting, keep at least me or Fallenor. Kick Ordy because he sucks. And we'll see where this goes. Thank you.
Okay. Strong statement. I appreciate it, Ty. I like it. I like it a lot.
I want entertainment. Give me the blood.
All right.
Entertainment doesn't matter when people are dying.
Fallenor.
I'm not gonna rampage against the machine or bootlick or read from Psychology 101 like Wordy here. If you want more base takes from Fallenor, which is more rare than a straight shooting politician, then keep me on the panel.
Can you guys hear me? I got kicked out of the Discord. You should add me back into the Discord group. I accidentally hit call on Maddie when we were discussing.
We kicked one of the queens.
Add me back into that.
No,
there we go.
Oh no!
All right, she's
Bring
back.
it back.
I didn't hear any of what Tiberius just said. I don't know if you insulted my mother or like what we're doing.
It was
Okay, well, Ty said he'll make things interesting. So
okay,
yeah.
cool.
Okay, great. So we will move on. So Maddie, Marcy, you will have to DM me now, and who will stay? Who among these individuals will stay, and who will go? Oh, actually, no, just the one. Just tell me who will stay.
We
Give me
each
one name.
message you one person,
Just
right?
one name.
Okay.
Wordy.
Okay. All right.
My vote is in.
Okay. Well, that's one vote.
Okay, 1 second.
All right.
Hold on. I'm
Any second.
My computer's being slow.
That's a likely excuse. Okay.
No, my Discord is lagging. Okay, cool.
It's Discord. It sucks.
It's better than Skype, dude. Remember?
It is better than Skype. Doesn't mean it's good.
True. Yeah.
Okay. All right. The votes are in. It's actually quite heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Wordy, this is the end for you. Wordy. Next time you need to prepare your love for the police. That apparently is the winning strategy here. So
you basically need to be a police cop. Okay.
Yeah, that pretty much works. That's the only way to succeed here on this channel. So, Wordy, tell a little about yourself.
Okay. So, like I said, anarcho-communist. I basically believe in the idea of liberty as above all. And what happens is we have liberty, and the reality is the institutions and the systems that we engage in are fundamentally antagonists to liberate. That's what I believe. What I want as a whole is for people to like maximize like happiness. Like I think people deserve to be happy above all, and like capitalism, blah 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 blah. In that instances, I linked my socials in there so you can watch me play some video games. My computer's pretty shitty, so it can get rough. So you know, like it needs shit. As a whole is, I'm learning my positions, I am learning more evidence, I am doing constant research so I can grow, but my brain is fucking scattered all the time, so it's always bits and pieces at a time. So you gotta be patient, be friendly, join in my chats, hang out, we can learn together. So, you know, join in, we can all have fun, and I will keep holding Maddie and Marcy to account as they continue to try to do police reform. Because in the end, we want better lives for everybody, and the reality is the institutions fucking suck. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Okay. Among the last two, who will stay? Who will go? Eleanor. You get to chill. While Ty says
I knew it was
his final goodbyes. Ty, this breaks my heart because I actually really enjoyed having you around. You know I do. But the Queens must be listened to.
No, that's cool. I'm Tiberius D. I do geopolitics as my wheelhouse, and I just didn't really care for the last topic because it was we all agreed. So if you want my takes on why you can't fight global climate change without imperialism, come check out my show Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch, or just check it out on the YouTube. Geopolitics with Tiberius D. On Sundays and Fridays, right before Prime streams, where just whenever we get a chance, we do a right-wing panel with Samantha Banana and Connor Point. So if you like them or you like me, come check us out. There's plenty of content over at what we do. Thank you very much for having me. We'll catch you next time.
How's it going, buddy? Thanks for being here. Okay, so we'll move on to our next topic. Before then, I'll unmute Hans. I will unmute Hans. Hans, next time, actually stop. Please stop. Don't finish your sentence. Just stop, please. Okay? All right, buddy? All right, so I'm unmuting you.
I just want to say, I've been unjustly silenced. Again, the corrupt establishment is coming for me. They're trying to stop. They saw.
Oh man, my hand slipped. Oh no. How that happened? Oh man, I'm sure he was about to say something beautiful. Wow,
You know what,
really
Prime,
inspiring.
Prime, I knew that one day I would have to battle Maddie in the free marketplace of ideas, but I didn't know that day would come so soon, and you truly are a criminal for allowing this disgrace to happen.
Okay, we'll try it again. Hopefully my hand doesn't fuck up this time. I don't know. Let's try it. Hey Hans, you were gonna say something?
Are you done? Like, can I?
Are you done?
I don't know. I think I'm doing. I think the audience wants the people's champion to be able to speak. I will. I'm sorry. I didn't actually know that was TOS. I actually really am sorry about that. I'm not trying to get you banned, right?
Oh, nothing was TOS before.
Yeah,
it's just that. Oh,
sorry for Next time I'll listen to the ref. I got a little heated. at the end there. I'm really sorry.
Right.
Well, now Wordy's gone, so I'll try and keep it nice to like all the other people, because like everyone else on this panel, I have a deep, unabashed love for. Right, Marcy, such a queen. Maddie, just met, but you're already awesome. Sam, I see you in in voice chat all the time, so like you're cool, right? And then Valnor, Frosted Tips, like my boy, my Guy Fieri, my man, my secret based. My crypto-based boy, I'm so fucking happy that you're here with me right now. I'm so happy that you four get to be here for ground zero when I turn you all into a floor of glass. So like, I'm really excited about this. I'm so
violence? Threats of violence on Twitch.tv?
With my ideas in Minecraft. Why is Marcy's accusing me of violence? Everyone, like, man, let it be said, chat, that Marcy is accusing me of things that have no basis in reality. She knows that's the only way she can stop this. The only way she can stop me. So she's trying to get me thrown out unjustly.
That's why they call me Marcy the Knife.
I think
no one calls you Marcy the Knife. Like, it's like this is that scene from Step Brothers where you're like, call me Nighthawk, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
like call me Dragon. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so we're moving on. Excuse me. The next topic is Obamacare a good healthcare solution? If it is simply expanded, will that be enough to deal with America's disastrous healthcare system? Or does this plan need to be replaced with something else altogether? All right, we have 25 minutes left on the clock. Jump in.
the ACA is based, okay? It got rid of what do you call it? Previous conditions, like stopping people from getting pre-existing conditions, and it covered 20 million people that didn't have insurance before. And the expansion that Biden wants to do will cover another 20 million people. It is based as fuck, okay?
And we broke Sam. I think Sam just like, oh, I got attacked for being too idealistic last night. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go like the fucking lowest. I am below the floor right now. Yeah. So Sam makes a really great point that Obamacare, when it was passed, was fucking based. We got so many people getting healthcare. We got pre-existing conditions covered. We got rid of catastrophic care insurance. Fucking poggers as hell. There's a lot of intrinsic like societal stuff that like systemic stuff that like Obamacare doesn't really fix, that I think having like at the very least a robust public option. Everyone in chat, do you like Medicare for all? I fucking love Medicare for all. I want to date Medicare for all. I want to talk to Medicare for all like until like at my dying day. But for the moment, right, under a Biden administration, we can really focus on getting a really solid public option that allows literally every American to have a cap on their income in terms of what they pay for health insurance. So this is like the easiest way. Like Medicare for all, not happening. Public option, absolutely possible under a Biden administration. We should fight like hell to get that. So we get expand Obamacare, expand like Medicaid, all that sort of shit, all that good stuff, right? We can lower the Medicare eligibility age. We can do so much, but if we want to help the people like in like that weird gray area that they're not poor enough to qualify for Medicaid, but they don't quite like do well under Obamacare, if we can give them a robust public option, and even like middle class people, we can help literally tens of millions more Americans without going like full hog Medicare for all. And that's like the most based option we have right now. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Think of
Marcy,
you go, Maddie.
Okay.
You go.
Okay, no, I was just saying that, like, you know, is Medicare, or is the ACA the best possible solution? No, obviously there are downsides to it. It still enables private insurance companies for gouging. It still allows them to gouge their customers for the sake of profit. Under the ACA, we are still seeing the costs of monthly premiums and the need for out-of-pocket spending to skyrocket. However, in the current political climate, it has done so much more good than it has done bad. What it's done is it's allowed for people that formerly could not afford any form of healthcare or health insurance to become insured, eliminating the ability for insurance companies to deny coverage for pre-existing conditions was massive. I say that as someone whose father is disabled. My dad was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's when I was like 2 years old. He's had it my entire life. The fact that like our health insurance isn't at risk, I mean, it's quite literally life-saving. Another really important thing that was instituted as part of the ACA that is critical is for folks that are 25 years old and under to still qualify to be covered by their parents' insurance. Because again, in our society as it stands right now, that is something that people absolutely need, especially when you consider how stagnant wages are and how many young people still live with their parents and rely on their parents. It's good. I think we need to push for a public option. I think we need to essentially use the public option as a blueprint for why something like Medicare for All is not only necessary, but easily implemented. I think it's within the insurance company's best interest for people to portray it as this like overly complicated whatever, because it's not.
All right, I guess I'll go next.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So a few things with it is catastrophic health insurance. Just a quick item here before I jump to my 3 main points. It helps to cover incidents that other insurances don't cover, and it helps with payout ceilings that most people don't realize exist. If you check into your healthcare policy, there's actually limited, there's notated limits on how much it'll actually pay out under guaranteed coverage. But to my points is the ACA created a unique problem where it does accept anyone regardless of condition, but then it adds artificial caps on how much you have to pay before it'll pay anything out as an insurance company, which artificially and disproportionately punishes the poor, students, minorities, and women. And the next point I have, which is ACA, the system itself was an excessively expensive system and platform that equates to the Amazon of insurance. I was actually on the ground floor helping to build it in Maryland when we started initially building it out, and it was an excessive expense from start to finish. And then the third alternative point, which is my recommendation, because I don't complain about problems, I provide alternative solutions, is to create a cost plus model for the pharmaceutical and medical industries that provide a gross payout based on the rarity and volume of service and guarantees funding for research and development of both medical services and pharmaceuticals up to stage 3, which would allow us to disassociate the need to price gouge on a particular service, medical procedure, or drug based on being able to squeeze it for every dime that it's worth, and instead allowing to reinforce medical institutions as a whole to produce as many solutions as they can to find the best potential response to the condition and not the most profitable one. And so I think that would be the best alternative to where we're not pushing pharmaceutical industries to just drain people, but instead to embolden them to make the best decision and to give doctors the powers to practice medicine again and not practice economics.
The type of conversation where we end up moving on to the bonus topic, because you're not going to hear much disagreement from me on any of these people. Fallen Hour probably had the spiciest take of all, but I agree that the ACA is not a perfect system. However, it is a beautiful piece of legislation. It's the best American healthcare has ever been because of things like the pre-existing conditions mandate, right? The fact that for a long time it was okay for health insurance companies to discriminate against people for like conditions they were born with and they had no control over is, in my opinion, fucking sociopathic of our government to allow, extremely sociopathic of the actual companies to do it, right? So it's a wonder to me that wasn't curtailed well before Barack Obama's presidency. But I guess people were too busy caring about Iraq in the early 2000s, so it was, you give and you take. But we can talk about the issues with the ACA, the very specific nitty gritty and what we might do better. But I think it's important to recognize that Biden expanding the ACA is an incredibly good move. It's very based when suddenly your good-ish healthcare becomes gooderer, right? I would love to have a public option for people, if it weren't for being able to stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26, I wouldn't be able to afford my estrogen. And that means everyone at home would be deprived of one hot bitch queen. All right. And that would be very sad for you. And it would be even sadder for me because I wouldn't have my fucking hormone treatment. Right. So the ACA has done a lot of good for me. It's done a lot of good for my family. My mom has Crohn's, did a lot of good for her as a single mom putting herself through school. It does, with any private insurance system, there are going to be poor people hurt, and that's the sad reality of it. And that's why in the far future, or even the near future, if we get enough capital P progressives in the White House and Congress, right, I would love to push for something like Medicare for all. But in the immediate sense, Joe Biden's expansion of the ACA, any push for a public option or anything like it is absolutely fucking stellar and just what we need to make our healthcare system even better than it already is.
So one thing I would immediately add on to Marcy's point there is I actually agree with Marcy on a lot of topics, but this one in particular especially. I don't think that businessmen should be involved in medical treatment. It should be between you and your doctor, which is why I openly advocate for the government just outright buying the entirety of the medical industry completely out. And then
nationalization takes from Fallen Hour.
What are you doing right now?
King!
Cool.
You're so right. No, dead ass. No, Fallen Hour. You're so fucking in the far future. I would love a completely nationalized healthcare system. That's so fucking big. I think some industries like emergency services, healthcare should absolutely be fucking nationalized. Transportation should be nationalized. We shouldn't have Uber. We shouldn't have doctors and insurance companies and hospitals charging whatever the fuck they want. Exorbitant prices. You're so fucking right, Fallen Hour, and it makes me mad because I thought I was going to have someone to disagree with on this panel, and you're depriving me of that. What are you doing, King?
This redemption arc is spectacular.
It's really nice to see. Like Marcy,
Jesus Christ.
I almost like I wasn't sure where you were going when you said we don't need doctors, and I was just like, for a second, I was like, wait, where's she going with this? But
No. We
like,
need we don't need private practices charging
Right,
whatever
right.
the fuck they want for
Right.
for
So,
medical treatment. Yeah.
but like for Falna, right? Like again, if you care about actual like policy, you've probably heard this on like some flavor of a market social stream that like a lot of industries underinvest in research and development, which is where we get a lot of like our fancy new drugs, our fancy new treatments, all that sort of good shit, right? And it seems like the best way of dealing with that is just to nationalize research and development, right? Like, if you've heard the meme where someone says, "Oh, hey, like like all of our drugs in like the last 10x years have been developed because of public funding." It's like, yeah, that's fucking true. So we should probably just pump more public funding and all that sort of shit. Make sure that we have like amazing generics that everyone can use, and then just give them to the different companies. So, oh, hey, like you produce these, but like you have 5 competitors, so like they're going to be cheap as shit. So everyone gets like amazing drugs for super rock bottom prices, right? So Marcy gets her hormones. Everyone who needs like say like their insulin and shit gets their insulin. All that really based good shit. So like I think part of that. So I think we you can all agree nationalizing R&D. But then like going back to what we want from like our existing healthcare, I think it's entirely possible in the most pragmatic but still like potentially optimistic lens of what we do with healthcare that an expansion of the ACA is good. And I don't think anyone on this panel will argue that it's not, except maybe Fallon or over like some specific odds and ends of like the legality of like different like parts of it, right? But we have a potential right now, and that we have clips of Biden saying this from the campaign trail, saying that like no American will pay more than like, I think it was like 8% of their annual income on healthcare costs. And that is an amazing cudgel we can bludgeon him over with for the public option to give every American the option that says, oh, hey, less than 10% of your annual income will cover all of your healthcare expenses. We are at the precipice of an amazing public option system, and further beyond, we can show everyone right now. The Biden administration is having amazing high levels of popularity. Like they're crushing their like coronavirus response. They're crushing like all sorts of like different shit, right? We are showing the American people that we can do big government stuff, and it's not crazy socialism like like Venezuela USSR shit. We're showing them that government can work for people, provided that that fucking stupid people aren't controlling it, like i.e. Republicans, and are ruining how the government operates. We have an opportunity to have an amazing, robust public option passed by Democrats, not Republicans, which is extremely important, that it functions well, that it works optimally, and it shows people we make the best case for Medicare for all by showing people how regular for every individual human being public option is optional, and it works, and it's so good. At that point, we can say, hey, everyone, we pay 1 million times less for public option regular people compared to like private insurance, and now we have the best, most based IRL data-driven argument that we will get fucking Destiny Bunnell II to argue for Medicare for all by showing just how good public option healthcare is. That is the option. That is the ceiling. That's what we can get right now, and I think that is the best way forward.
So just one quick thing I'd like to insert there before I hand it off to Marcy, and I apologize, Marcy. But if you really want that to happen, the most effective way to ensure that it does is to create a tax credit that's equated to your medical expenses. And that way, both businesses and individuals will both be on board with accepting the new law and regulation. And it guarantees that it gets passed, allowing you to focus on what needs to be done, which is employers taking care of their employees like they fucking should, and employees taking care of themselves so that they can take care of their employees and their customers.
So let's go to Maddie, then Marcy.
Yeah, because the reality is this. The ACA is a great Band-Aid on our complete shithole of a system in this country. Insurance companies have an incentive to provide as little as possible while gouging us for as much as possible. As long as there is that profit incentive around for insurance companies, we are going to see people be denied coverage for things that are out of their control, and we're going to continue to see people have to declare bankruptcy, go into massive debt just to cover the costs of life-saving and necessary care. What I think the public option does, and what lowering the Medicare age of eligibility does, is that they provide a business case or a case study of why something like Medicare for all works, or why even nationalization works and in fact does a greater good for society at large. That's why, I mean, the whole idea behind the ACA came from an implementations at the state level. This was a concept that was developed at the time by Republican governors. They created the idea for a market-based system, which then became the ACA. So now what the ACA can be is that blueprint for what is possible if we do something more quote unquote radical like Medicare for all. And also I look forward to seeing that happen because it reduces the worthy objections that the opposition can have, because they are essentially using scare tactics and bullshit to try to convince people that it just can't happen here. But if we show what's possible, then we all of a sudden remove the power from those arguments and get people on our side so that they will actually support overhauling our system, which is in a fucking dire need of overhaul.
So let's go to Marcy, Sam, then Oliver.
Our system needs a massive overhaul. So there are two types of markets. There are elastic markets and there are inelastic markets. Elastic markets are things like luxury goods, I think these should be left to market forces. I see no reason they shouldn't, Inelastic markets are things like emergency service, healthcare, education, things that people need, will pay any price for, or else die or be destitute, So I think that healthcare is probably the most inelastic market, I would say, and therefore should at some point in the future be nationalized. I am not a communist. I do not claim to want nationalization for everything, but the privatization of healthcare and its consequences have been disastrous for the human race, especially in this country. We see people push for that shit in European countries and in Canada, and they don't win. And the reason they don't win is because people would rather wait in line than wait in line longer until they die because they don't have any fucking money, right? So I'm glad we can all agree that Medicare for all is the ultimate based solution that eventually we will strive for. And we love that, right? Currently, a public option, in my opinion, is the best possible way to convince people who have been brainwashed by right-wing media, center-right media, center-left media, to despise the idea of standardized or public healthcare, right? To see it as socialism. Half the reason people didn't agree with Obamacare in the first place is because Tucker Carlson told them all that fucking Obama is a socialist and Obamacare is going to come and take your guns and take your healthcare, and it's going to be like Canada. And in Canada, the doctors have to treat everyone, and they're so overworked, and it's like slavery too. Oh God, it's slavery too. And it's a bunch of bullshit. You're being fed bullshit. I want to speak to something Hans said really quick. Hans said that when we have stupid people, i.e. Republicans, running the government, then bad things happen. I want to speak to the Republicans in the audience right now. Listen to me, all right? We're going to make eye contact. I respect your intelligence, okay? I don't think you're stupid. Here's what I think. I think that the people leading you think they're better than you. They think they're smarter than you, and they think you can serve you a plate of bullshit. But I know you, Republicans in the audience. You are red-blooded Americans. You don't eat bullshit when it's presented to you on a silver platter. You knock that shit out of their hands, and you demand lobster. And the lobster I'm serving up to you is nationalized motherfucking healthcare, all right? You get that nationalized healthcare extra value meal, and you take that conservative bullshit about how socialism is bad, woo, boogeyman, and you take that away, all right? Don't let fear fucking rule your life, okay? Those Republicans aren't stupid. Trump was stupid, but most of them have a vested interest in making you think that you're stupid. But I believe in you. I respect you.
Sam, Vaughn, or Hans?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say, when I was saying that it was based, I wasn't saying that it's like the best solution ever. I was just saying that when it came into effect, that was the first part of the question. Is it a good system? It is a good system from comparative to where it was before that. And then the expansion that Biden wants to do is a better expansion from where it is currently. And again, I think a public option is 100% the way to go to get Medicare for all, which is the ultimate end goal that I think everybody on the panel agrees with. And I love that this discussion is going on. I love the discussion about elastic versus inelastic markets. These are all things that I love to talk to people about. Whenever you want to talk to people about like getting people onto Medicare for all, the inelastic versus elastic goods market is like a huge talking point that I think is great.
All right. Okay. Vaughn and then Hans.
Yeah, to go ahead and summarize my point on this, my biggest issue with ACA is, as a whole, the use of insurance itself is it's got one critical flaw, which is it's predicated on the basis of your provider accepting what equates to be an IOU. Insurance is only good if the provider accepts it, and it's only good if it pays in full within a reasonable time frame, which most insurances don't. Most people aren't aware from the business side that the average insurance company takes 1 to 2 years to actually pay out from the time frame that you submit the final invoice as a provider once the individual leaves the office to the time that you actually get the check back. And that's caused a lot of doctors to fall pretty heavily into debt. More importantly, it's caused them to be very, very selective, which has caused people like Marcy, for instance, who want to go to a specific type of care provider that's more open-minded or more willing in certain areas that are biased. I don't want to be rude or disrespectful for medical.
Wait, Colin, just to get at you really quick. Yeah. I don't really see a specialist. I have one primary care provider I see.
Oh yeah. I don't mean specialist. I mean like someone that's like a medical provider that's able to prescribe those types of medicines that you need or that you're looking to get. And I've seen and heard complaints from a lot of people that there are a lot of providers that will refuse to service you if you're looking for particular types of treatments, which I find despicable. But
a lot of gatekeeping.
Yeah, a lot of gatekeeping, exactly. And of all things, the gatekeeping should not exist. It is most especially should not happen in the medical industry. I find that to be highly problematic. But this is why I don't like insurance companies, is because they actually end up becoming gatekeepers themselves. Because if your care provider doesn't accept that insurance and you find a doctor that you like, that would be more than happy to assist you, but then the company they work for doesn't accept your insurance, it creates a financial obstacle, which I don't think is fair.
Hans?
Thanks. So I just want to respond like something quickly. Like someone added me earlier. So Marcy and everyone in chat, right? She wants to do like the thing like, oh my gosh, like Republicans, I get you. Like I totally understand. Hey, I'm not gonna like fucking get on my knees and beg for votes. I want to tell everyone right now, if you're a Republican right now, you vote Republican. If you vote Republican over people like Joe Manchin, over people like Joe Biden, who are like, very, very, very moderate, I got one thing to say to you. Hey, you're dumb as fuck. Your concepts of masculinity, the traditional family, they're bullshit. You're being fed a culture war narrative by some fucking monsters like Tucker Carlson, other white nationalist little man babies who can't handle that Derek Chauvin got thrown in the fucking slammer for being a piece of shit. And so here's what I want to say. My entire purpose is to reach out to libs, to centrists, to some reasonable Republicans. But I'm not going to fucking grovel here telling every Republican, oh my God, you're my little pog champ. Like, you're so smart. Like, you totally know. If you're a fucking normal human being and you get that lives are on the line and that Democrats expand healthcare and Republicans don't, then yeah, you're on my team. But I'm not going to fucking grovel at your foot and that everything else about you to please say, yeah, like you can be the reasonable one. You have the chance to be a reasonable one now. There was a chance for you to be reasonable in November, and we're going to keep hoping to be reasonable. But until then, we're trying to expand voting rights to minorities and other people that definitely need to be able to vote so that you don't have a fucking place in Congress, you don't have a place controlling our government. The best way to make sure our government operates is to make sure that Republicans have no stance and no control over it. The best government we've had in recent memory has been Democrats controlling everything. And I want to fucking continue that and make sure that the Democrats who control it are the ones like AOC, not ones like Joe Manchin. Let's make the Democratic Party better. Let's stop playing footsie with Republicans and pretending about bullshit and this sort of pandering like Marcy's doing. And let's fucking win, my fellow Dems, my fellow Mark Sucks, my fellow liberals, my fellow socialists. Let's make this world a better place. And that doesn't require groveling at the feet of people like that.
I have to hit you back with this, Hans, because I don't consider what I'm doing groveling, you know.
I think it's fine. You're allowed to be wrong.
Listen. I just have a basic amount of respect for people who are misled by, frankly, evil autocrats who would see us all dead. I will now read a quick quote that has, meant a lot to me in my American upbringing.
Drop the quote.
Give me, you might recognize this from a certain big lady. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And so, therefore, I lift my lamp beside the golden door of progressivism with a capital P. And I welcome, I shepherd the tired, the poor, the huddled masses of conservatives who have been lined up at the trough to serve and gorge on bullshit like pigs, to come and instead be given some good rhetoric and some good points by people like us, you know, because we respect the intelligence of those willing to listen and those willing to give a chance to nationalized based healthcare.
I do, but I don't have to baby them. I don't have to tell them they're my little PogChamp. You're like, and again, that wasn't a quote. That was a paraphrase. Like, it's totally fine. I get it. Like, you might
They are
understand,
my
like,
little
how
PogChamp,
definitions
though.
work in this specific instance. I'm here to help you. But like for
Everyone in chat is my little PogChamp.
Oh my god! Like, hey, everyone, you're such my little PogChamp too. Like,
Everyone in
no. That's
beautiful and
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Marcy is pandering, and I'm giving you cold hard facts, expecting you to be a fucking adult and be able to make the right decision. She wants to lie to you. She wants to tell you that whatever Republican like propaganda you've like been constantly spewing and taking, that's okay to think that. I'm like, yeah, like fine, but you got to come out of it at some point.
When did I say it's okay?
I don't know.
To think
It sounds like you're telling every Republican who like is that supports Tucker Carlson is voting like in horrible people like Matt Gaetz. Like they're not dumb.
I can
I'm
speak
totally
from
fine telling them they're
experience.
brainwashed. They're just gonna break it out.
I can speak.
Nope. That's the round.
Can I just?
Oh, you
shit.
motherfuckers!
Hey,
Taking up all the time with your bullshit. With your bullshit.
That's the round. Anyway, if you've just discovered this channel, just walked in, we're having a game show type thing here, right? If you're enjoying this content, hit that follow button, hit the notification bell so you know I'm going live, because I do this content all the time. Don't want you to miss out. All right, so we're going to go into our next elimination round. And you're going to be voting once again, I'll explain it to you. You'll be voting for which of these individuals you want to stay to go into the final round, all right? Because the next round will be the final round. You'll be voting for which one of these individuals you want to keep here, not who you want to keep. You can vote for any reason. You can vote for them because they're the most interesting, the funniest, they're fascinating, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Vote for whoever you want to stay. Who want to stay, not who you want to go. All right. I tell people this over and over again. Okay. So I'm gonna put the link in chat. I'm gonna put 5 minutes left on the clock. At the end of the 5 minutes, that will be the end of voting. I don't care if your vote comes afterwards. It doesn't count. I don't care. So don't complain at me afterwards. Okay. So vote right now. Don't vote later. Vote right now. Vote right now. The link is in chat. Vote this second. And we will put 5 minutes on the clock. Yeah.
I would really like to sing a song that I wrote over the course of this debate.
Can I get in here real quick, Marcy?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So just to quickly respond to Hans' statement there, you can talk to both parties with a modicum of respect. One thing I'd like to remind people of is part of the soldier's creed is I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. And whether that's on the battlefield or the unemployment line, that philosophy applies just the same. And it's quite clear in that creed that we take quite seriously that we can look across party lines and political ideologies to do what's right, to support people and do the right thing by people, because ultimately taking care of your people drives capitalism, and nothing drives profits better than a high morale. And you can only get that high morale if you take care of your people. And that's just a simple reality.
I'm totally fine with saying like, oh, hey, you should vote for this good thing. But I'm not going to pretend to someone who supported horrible things their entire life and that they don't have to change their like any of their prescriptions. I'm telling them, hey, I want you to change your beliefs and then vote for me. The way that Marcy like put it, and the way that you're saying it right now, it makes it seem like we're like saying, oh, please vote for us. Like, be the one good one. I want to fundamentally change people's prescriptions and tell them the way that they view the world can be better achieved by what I'm saying. If you care about the family, you probably care about, say, like, funding child tax credits. If you care about like taking care of old people or taking care of people who like are working people, you probably care about providing like different options like from a public system for healthcare. I don't have to I'm not trying to use any words that'll get anyone banned, right? I'm not trying to like grovel for like support for Republicans. I'm explaining why they're wrong and why they should support me. And even without changing their worldview, why it still makes more sense to support what I support. If you care about the family, if you're a trad con conservative, all my policies make the family stronger and better than what like is currently prohibited by the Republican Party. Like, I'm here to help you.
Filibuster and Hans, filibuster and on
Let's
again.
start. I can't
All right.
hear the sound of me talking
So
over you.
here's
What
the
are you
thing.
saying? Like,
Wait,
In all honesty,
I,
I have conservative family members who I've been able to over time like support things like Medicare for all and other things, and it is a slow fucking grind. But the way you do that isn't by necessarily like overtly alienating them, but it's also, Marcy does this very well. It's about knowing their language and their terminology and the way and their rhetoric and how they frame things and using it to make your same point, because in that case it's almost like them hearing the point from their own thread of logic.
Here's
That's
the point.
like Tom's 101.
Here's wait, Hans.
I know what you're saying. I am a farm boy from rural Indiana. I know how to talk to Republicans. I get it. Marcy.
Yeah, what's up? Hey, Hans, listen to me, all right? You can't logic and reason someone out of a position they didn't logic and reason themselves
I can
into.
debate lord them out of
Love
it.
that.
Sure. Well, all right. Well, if Tucker Carlson wants to scaremonger about immigrants and socialism, I'm not really going to deprogram anybody by saying you are stupid. You are stupid. But what I will do is say, hey, you're being lied to. Here are the reasons you should care about issues that are not these dumb culture war issues. You're being fed bullshit, but I respect your intelligence, and I think you can come out of this. And you know what that does? That plants a seed. I'm the one good one, is what it tells them. And so I'd like to sing a song really quick. Here we go.
No,
Hans mad. Hans mad. Hans mad.
Oh,
Anyway.
okay. So or you just.
Hey. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, and non-biased to the audience, now's the time to vote. The link is in chat. Don't just stick around. Vote right now. If one of these people are impressing you, then vote to keep them. We need you to vote right now for them. If they get eliminated, that's your fault, not my fault. All right. So jump on in, participate right now. We have less than a minute left on the clock. Less than a minute left on the clock. So vote right this second, or the person you want will be eliminated, and that'll be your fault right now. So vote right now. Don't wait. We have less than 30 seconds left on the clock. The link is in chat. Vote right this second.
So I get it, but I can also I can appeal to all those conservatives who are just like, I just want a strong man tell me how to live my life. All that tradcon bullshit. I fit all of their boxes. I check all boxes. I'm a big, scary, aggressive white guy. I'm just telling them, I'm like, oh, really?
From Hans.
Oh, yeah, Idpol. Exactly. You're like saying, like, oh, like, I understand you. They're lied to you. And you don't think they won't just dismiss you for being like any flavor of difference than what they currently are. I can say, hey, bro, I get it. You want to like crush some weights at the gym, get some brewskis, and then I can fucking out alpha you and tell me why you should support what I support as opposed to what you're supporting. So it's like,
isn't this a little bit toxic?
And like
my issue with that, Hans, is I don't try to step on and dictate to people what their ideologies are. I try to comprehensively explain what mine are, find out what theirs are, identify the differences, and then find a mutual.
Fallen hour. Fallen hour.
Based.
I'm still
so everyone, great. So the results are in. The results are in, and the results are extremely consistent. Maddie, Marcy, you're at the top. So yes, Maddie, you are number one. At the bottom is Sam and Fallenor. Okay, they're at the bottom, and if you vote for them afterwards, well, who gives a shit? Should have voted before. But yes, Sam and Fallenor, you are at the bottom. You will now have to beg. Just Maddie, because only Maddie will be voting, because there's only one person who's going to be tossed here, right?
Oh, it's a lot of pressure. God
So you'll first Sam, then Fallenor, begging as to why you get to stay. All right. Once again, tell Maddie just why she just rocks your world, right? Those beautiful big eyes of hers.
damn.
Sam? Maybe
yeah,
he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't agree. Maybe I'm sorry.
No, I
maybe,
know.
He's like, no, it's terrible.
That's
Maddie,
fine.
you
I
should
value
vote-
honesty. I value.
Yeah, no, you're great. I enjoy your positions. You know, you're a humble
It's not about
monarch.
me. It's about you. It's about you. Why
Well,
should you stay? What are you
because-
gonna bring?
What am I gonna bring? I've been bringing spice all night. I think we had the argument. We've been good about the thing. I've been bringing spice. All you're gonna say is that Falnor's base the whole last time. That's all we're gonna hear over and over again. We already know that Falnor's got his base thing. We need something new. Okay.
Okay, Falnor. Why should you stay?
I can definitely respond to Sam there. In addition to being based, I have information. I would actually like to discuss India and China, as well as the United States and their contributions collectively to multiple series of pollutions, and the solution, which I think we will all agree on, which is a combination of using less plastic and using more nuclear instead of carbon-based fuels. But that won't happen if I'm voted off. So I look forward to your justice.
Okie doke. All right. So, Maddie, you will DM me.
Okay.
Maddie, you will let us all know which of these individuals has to go.
Okay.
And they're going to be heartbroken. They might honestly curse. This might start a blood feud that might last for generations, depending on who you choose. It's a possibility. It's happened before on game shows. So, Maddie, which one of these people whose heart will you break? Oh man. Reading her message.
I'm like, yeah.
Okay, alright. Maddie is clearly torn. Alright, torn in half by this decision, which is quite surprising actually.
It's very surprising.
It is surprising.
He's a lot. Who got kicked off? Who's out?
We're about to find out.
Okay.
I can't watch. I'll use the bathroom. We'll be right back. I don't want to cry. I can't handle this. This is too much. I will cry hefty man tears. I can't handle that right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Between these two, right? It's clear that that Maddie loves conservatives more than Sam. Then we have to go.
I was so torn, Sam.
She betrayed her own. Right? So I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this when you go to sleep. I want you to remember this in 10 years. I want you to tell this to your kids, right? Burn this into their mind, this ultimate betrayal, right? Let your cult members know, and so they can take action in the future. That Maddie Cakes in particular, and show her name and use it for a dartboard practice, right? That Maddie Cakes was the one who betrayed you. So, Sam.
I imagine that I'm gonna call you someday to apologize, and like Billy Madison, you're gonna turn to your list of names of like people to take revenge on, and then you'll cross mine off, and it'll be at the top of the list.
Sam, give yourself an outro.
Yeah, so I'm Sam. I'm on the Prime panel a lot. I'm a mod at the new Twitch Politics Discord, made by the fabulous mod here, Samantha Banana. It's a great place to be and hang out. I'm usually there quite a bit. If you guys want to come hang out, I'll post a link in the chat. And yeah, if you guys want to see me, I'll probably be hanging out there afterwards.
Thanks so much. All right. Heartbreak. And
It's a great time.
By
too.
a esteemed colleague before he is dismissed.
That Discord's super dope. It's like the politics Discord, but with way less Nazis. We love it.
Okay, all right. So, moving on, and moving on past Sam, who's been tossed away like trash by Maddie. Oh wow. So,
Burn it up, aren't you?
I love you, Sam. If you need to vote your conscience, I wouldn't have voted for you.
All right.
Oh my god.
All right.
Heavy is the head that wears
better,
the
like I also
crown.
wouldn't have voted for you, like, you know, and I didn't have to say it because I'm trying to get your vote. Like, I'm just letting you know, like Sam said that he would vote for me. He said vote Hans. Like this guy and we have a connection, and like nothing that Marcy says right now can change that. I'm sorry, Marcy. I'm sorry you coming in after. You're like, oh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Like Sam and I had a bond before this. We have a bond
The
after.
pandering.
Filibustering Hans. Filibustering from third place again.
Filibustering. So,
what
like,
I
is that just
did
talking
was-
now? Am I not allowed to talk? Like, oh my god, like we can't let the champ speak because if he does, he'll just win. Like that's just so
Keep
rude.
calling
Like,
yourself the champ because
I
as
am
of
the champ.
All right, I will
that's
bow
not
out
going to
now.
be the case anymore. Now is it?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm doing all right.
Bye, Sam.
Still
I
here, ain't
love
I?
you. I really love you.
Have a great night.
The way,
Sneaky
Honestly,
great
what I
tactic.
did was brave. So
and the way Maddie shows her love is to betray people. I want you all to know that, okay? In case you consider dating Maddie in the future, just knows that she shows her love by betraying you. Okay.
Also, everyone in chat, I'm down to one button. Like every time I win, every time I survive a round, like one button goes away. Like can we have lightning strike a third time? Ready to just fucking explode all over this room. Like I'm
Guys,
ready.
if I win, I'll do a hot tub stream.
I just wanna be clear with
if I
that.
win, I'll do a hot tub stream. Like
If you notice, I don't have any buttons on. I don't tease you. I just give you the goods.
like good.
Okay.
I'm sorry. that was
Anti-right
mean.
bias.
You don't deserve that. Didn't mean to bully you like that.
Okay.
I'm really brave.
You're quite brave.
Stunning.
I'm actually a little
I'm stunning and brave.
curious. I don't know, maybe I should save this for some other time. But the topic that's Hans brought, maybe I should bring up next week. Talking about whether we should I guess pander to Republicans. Is that basically what some of Hans?
So what I'm saying is we don't have to simp for Republicans to. Sorry, that's a bad game word, right? So we don't have to like essentially tell Republicans their right to get them to vote for us. We can just say, hey, what are your current value systems? We can do two things once we know that. We can either say, hey, everything you want is accomplished better by my proposed policies. And then we could also try and change them ideologically to support the policies anyway. There's multiple ways of getting them. If you want to talk about pandering, like, I think that's like fine. I think that's kind of too broad, but like I'm down for this conversation. I think it's going to be less of a debate, more of a conversation. But I'm really excited for this. I think this is like really important in terms of like moving people over. Like my like personal like ideology, right? I try and like pull over liberals. I want liberals like
So we don't have to go to. Don't have to go into it. I want to understand what we're saying. It might be, I guess, more fair for everyone because, like, apparently, I don't know, you prepared for the next topic, correct? Right, the pollution topic.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
We can do pandering as well if you want.
Yeah. So well, why don't we do the pollution topic, and then I'll hold off the other one. That sounds pretty interesting. I'm gonna write it down, and we'll do it next week. We'd love to have you there, Hans, to maybe get back your title after you lose it to Marcy.
Whoa!
You
assume
Or Maddie.
lose?
Wait, I don't
Like,
want to write off Matt. I'm more scared of Maddie than I am of anyone else on this panel.
Oh wow!
That's because they're conspiring.
Because-
They're conspiring.
That's because Marcy's
with
smart. That's
Prime
because Marcy's
to
smart. She
dethrone me.
knows what's
Everyone,
happening.
everyone in chat,
A
you
threat.
weren't here. You didn't understand what happened. I was denied
You
my
should hear
title
me.
the first time I was here, and now they're trying to take it away. They're trying to tell the people that they don't have a say. They're trying to like
Well,
do some backroom deals to
think
keep
of the
me
poor,
from maintaining
hunky
the
white
title
man.
of not just
Hans-
the people's champion,
Hans
but the
desperately
actual champion.
trying to make
and
this
now
panel
we have
last
two
until
people.
9:30
Here's what's gonna happen, right?
PST.
Everyone, here's what's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna fucking crush it, and then it's gonna be really close. I'm gonna be pulling ahead of both these ladies, right? And then suddenly one of them's suddenly gonna be like, no, you should vote for the other one to keep Hans from winning. This is what's going to happen. We all know it. I'm aiming for the stands. I see the bleachers. I'm swinging away, and I
are
see
we
the
gonna-
conspiracy in
like
broad
most people
daylight.
who claim to
Topic.
see the future.
Topic. Sorry.
But
Final topic. Okay. Final topic. So, should the world's biggest polluters, whether they are industries or nations, have to pay reparations to countries in the global south for the damage they've done? All right, 15 minutes left on the clock. And this is the final round. We crown this winner after this. Final round, 15 minutes left on the clock. Go ahead.
Reparations. What's really interesting to me about reparations is we have to think about this in a consequentialist framework, right? Because that's how policy is made. We like to think about the effects of the policies we make. Are we giving reparations as a virtue signal to show that we're giving back? Are we giving pithy little dollar sum amounts to these governments? Or are we giving them back land and actually like infrastructure? Are we helping them develop their nations so that we aren't like pillaging them anymore? If Tiberius were here, maybe we could have a discussion about whether imperialism is actually needed to solve climate change. Personally, I don't necessarily think it is, but I do think that in the current imperialist framework, that's inevitably what's going to happen because we need to take care of climate change. We can't sit around waiting for capitalism to disappear. We got to solve this problem now, right? My priority in this discussion is to make sure that these industries and nations, mostly industries though, because I don't really think you can blame a nation necessarily for the industries operating within that nation, especially considering the top polluters, China, America, Europe, are all broadly capitalist, run by their industry, of course. We need to hold these people accountable to stop their carbon emissions, bring that shit down 50% by 2030, I believe was the number, or else we can all expect a climate refugee crisis that will wipe us all off our fucking feet, sweep us onto our ass, and leave us begging out in the dark for any fucking crumbs of sustenance as we all shoot each other with shotguns from the roofs of buildings, right? Terrible, terrible post-apocalyptic future. Reparations are a thing we can definitely talk about, but first I would like to actually solve the problems that are existential, and then we can attack the reparations aspect a little bit later.
So Marcy brings up a really solid point about like specifically reparations, like how they're currently not super like viable. The best way in terms of like holding people accountable for this, one of the biggest issues we have in terms of technological development, in terms of like global carbon stuff, right, is we have a whole massive global south who is not industrialized, and we can all agree that we should give them all their computers, all their shit that they deserve in the same way of like in terms of living standards as the global north. I think we can all agree from that, but from a humanitarian standpoint. So the real question then is, how do we do that while dealing with the incoming climate crisis, right? We can't tell the global south to not industrialize. That's cringe as fuck. I don't want to like condemn billions of people to like, abject poverty and like, like horrible living conditions, right? We want to help them. So the best way to do this, right, outside of reparations, because they're not politically viable, the best way we can do this is to have the green tech that will save our planet, made in the global north, in China, and wherever you want to have it. And then we just have to import that to the global south so they can skip a messy, internationally destructive industrial revolution, right? We don't want to have to wait for them to go through coal, to go through natural gas in the same way that we are. As soon as we hit that lever on green tech, we want that to be fucking everywhere. We want that everywhere, whether it's nuclear, whether it's solar panels, whether it's wind, whether it's hydro, all of that shit. We want to help them skip that cringe coal phase and just go right into the based green tech phase. And so like less reparations and more, let's give them the tech to completely industrialize out of the gate. That's the only way we can do this to like raise their living standards without absolutely destroying like the world in terms of letting them industrialize. That's the only way to do it without, like particularly also without like, horrific potential imperialisms.
Maddie, then following her, then Marcy.
Yeah, I think, it's important that we recognize that the United States and China and these other large industrialized countries are the primary generators of greenhouse gases and are the biggest reason why global warming is accelerating at the rate that it is. And we have essentially created this climate crisis, which of course disproportionately impacts those countries in the Southern Hemisphere and other areas that don't have the same resources and wealth that we do to avoid much of the fallout. I think reparations would only be a good course of action and good policy if they were not tied to any other sort of like, well, we'll give you this if you then give us that, because that has been the way that the United States has engaged with developing countries thus far, including assisting them with industrialization and modernization. Unfortunately, the way in which not only the United States, but also institutions like the World Bank and the IMF, what they have done under the premise of looking to support these developing countries is essentially giving them loans that they know the countries won't be able to pay back, and ultimately making those countries beholden to US or just Western countries' influence and interest. So while I think that we absolutely should invest in things like green tech, in things like ensuring oh fuck, my brain is like broken, but basically helping these sustainability, that those are all critical, but they can only happen so long as the United States doesn't see it simply as an investment and profiting opportunity, because unfortunately, given our capitalist system, that is more likely than not the way that a lot of politicians and business interests in the United States will view something like reparations is, well, how can I make this profitable for me? How do I then get a contract to assist in the quote unquote industrialization of those countries? So yeah, that's my 2 cents for now.
Eleanor, Marcin.
All right, so I'm gonna open with a quote here, and it's something I hope everyone is familiar with, as it comes from one of my people. Not one of my tribal members, but one of my people as a Native American. And it starts with, "When will a white man realize he can't eat money? When the last tree has been cut down, the last fish caught, the last river poisoned, only then will we realize that one cannot eat money." The significance of this goes into the ideology behind the value of money holds no meaning if everyone is dead and no one can survive. Which is why the first thing that we need to address isn't reparations. The first thing we need to address is actually the solution. And that answer is oddly enough found in capitalism. There's actually a company that's out there called Lower Carbon Capital, which specializes in backing companies that reduce CO2 emissions by literally, in some instances, actually factually sucking carbon out of air, literally thin air, and buying us more time to unfuck the planet. There's other incredible nonprofits out there like the Ocean Cleanup Company. It's an incredible organization that specializes in pulling out large amounts of raw material and plastics and pollutions from the Shenzhen and the Nairobi rivers, which are the 2 most polluted rivers in the world, contributing more than 80% of pollution to the oceans. Um, Between those 2 organizations, we could collectively fund those as a planet. I think we can all agree that if we're all dead, that money doesn't matter anymore. Capitalists, socialists, I think we can all agree if we don't survive, it doesn't matter how much money we have in our quote unquote accounts if the mainframe is the only thing that's left running. Um, the issue with that is that we have to get that solution up and running and fund it. And that's what we need to do is fund the solutions, focus on the solutions, get those solutions more money. And the easiest way to do it is to inject more capital into these companies and further enhance their tax credits, which will allow them to continue to develop and draw in more investors, which will ultimately bring them the capital they need to actually solve the planet's problems. And then we can address reparations, which I do believe ultimately should be paid by the top 3 polluters, which would be India, China, and of course the United States.
Okay. Let's go to Marcy.
There are 2 main things underpinning my opposition to reparations. Here they are. For one, I agree with Maddie wholeheartedly. I do not want the U.S. to engage in the sort of quid pro quo activities that we normally engage in with other countries when it comes to giving them money. I don't want this to be a strings attached loan. I don't want this to be us being like, all right, developing world, we'll leave you alone, but next time we need a favor, naughty, naughty. I don't want any of that. I think that we should focus on reparations after we've unfucked the planet and can give them back some of their resources, right? I think that reparations also are a waste of money for now because I don't know, this idea is floating around the chat that I'm some communist who's blaming capitalism. I actually think the solution lies within capitalism. Specifically, I think that a market which focuses and prioritizes on green energy is extremely better suited to the kind of competition internationally that we have going on right now. You know, Americans love to measure their dicks against China, and you know that's all well and good. But China is, for the amount that they pollute, actually leading the world right now, the developed world, in terms of green energy research. So I think that we need to start competing with China. I think we need to start competing with the European Union countries, and we need to start investing in some goddamn green energy infrastructure before this problem becomes too severe. In addition to that, switching over to green energy will actually address some of the humanitarian crises that we've caused with our push for fossil fuels, right? We always hear about America going to war for oil, doing oil imperialism, and we do imperialism for other things too. You know, the precious metals in our phones, the batteries that power all of our electronic equipment, even some of our infrastructure, even our clothes are the product of exploitative, disgusting labor that we source out to countries with more lax regulations than us. But we can't fix these things with energy reform, so I don't think we should talk about them. I do, however, think we should talk about ending our dependence on fossil fuel, because oil is the #1 fucking imperialist exploit of the United States. And if we want to address this problem meaningfully, the way to do it isn't by throwing out cash to countries. The way to do it is giving them back their goddamn resources, because we aren't using them anymore. We're focusing on a more environmentally friendly and competitive in the marketplace of capitalism system. That is one that is green. You know, green capitalism is the answer that we need right now.
So what I would add to that and to address chat is, yes, it's understood that that a lot of the CO2 emissions comes from poorer countries, and that is an unfortunate reality. And I do agree that the current system does not support providing them the things that they need, like solar panels, wind energy, and what me personally feels is more effective is nuclear. The issue with that is the fact that we, as stronger nations that are more wealthy, have the ability to leverage our capitalistic systems to provide them with the means to address that problem, typically in a manner that would be dramatically less expensive than paying for the reduction of the pollution by physically extracting it from, i.e., thin air, or other means like the ocean cleanup systems, which would be required to patrol the vast majority of the 70% of the planet that is ocean. And so it's in a financial metric, it's actually dramatically less expensive to go ahead and just give them the things that they need to produce that power, rather than to expect them to quote unquote pay for it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we, as like one of the head capitalist powers in the world, along with countries like China and other kind of capitalist superpowers, need to take some responsibility and step up our game in the green energy field, because like I've been really jokey and lighthearted, but climate change is something I don't joke around about. That shit is like gonna fucking kill us really soon, and we got to get a handle on that, because even if we don't die from the direct like response of the planet to all the carbon, we will die from the violence that will ensue when racist people find out that the third world is coming here because of climate change. So it's
because we've made their homes.
Yeah, because we've made it
right? Their homes. Yeah.
I should clarify, it's not their fault. It's our fault, and we'll be killing each other and them for it. And it's disgusting, and we should avoid it before it even gets there.
I would agree. I would agree with what you said, but I would disagree with the last statement. Is we will be too busy being dead to be able to fight them, because 80% of our population lives on coastlines, and those coastlines won't exist anymore because of our own folly and greed. And so I think it's actually funny that they would be coming here. They would be able to move in rent free without immigration issues, because most of our people will be dead from the floods that would just engulf and destroy the territory.
Yeah, so another thing I want to point out is the economics of not addressing climate change, or the reluctance of so many industries to address climate change, because while there's so much that the state can do in terms of regulations and other things, it's primarily like 10 or 20, I think it's like 71% of all greenhouse gas emissions are generated by like 20 companies. And as Marcy pointed out, most of those companies are in the energy sector, where, you know, they're oil and gas or anything else like that. And it's so short-sighted, because if you look at the actual economics of whether their continual commitment to operating in a way that emits greenhouse gases, in the long term, it is not profitable, because the amount that they are going to have to then contribute to rebuilding economies, the amount that they have to pay right now every time a quote what normally was a once in a lifetime hurricane comes through and demolishes these cities and other things. Like, in fact, in the long term, it is not economically viable to continue as is. But what we have here is not people who are committed to like the tenets of capitalism. We have people who are committed to the tenets of short-term profiting and running. And that is what we have to target when we think about, well, how do we incentivize these businesses to make an actual change in the way they operate? We have to think about, well, what are they valuing? So if we make it untenable from a business standpoint to continue in the manner in which they are doing right now, that is where we actually see behavioral change. Because so long as they're able to generate short-term profits off of polluting our planet, they have no real incentive to change, and we'll see those same polluters, the 20 companies, generate just as much as they are right now.
And that is the round. Thank you all to my panelists.
I feel like I just got filibustered. Like, you know, I get it. Like, I was trying to be polite, but Barcy and Maddie just wouldn't stop. Like, you know, I raised my hand. No one
we don't all have glorious chest hair.
Yeah.
Hans, you know what? They have wanted women to shut up for years and years and years, and people like Maddie and I have fought against that. So I think you're disrespecting women. No, I'm kidding.
Sure thing. Yeah. To my audience,
it's like, I will not shut up.
To my audience, first of all, if you're just finding us, hit that follow button, hit that notification bell so you know I'm going live. Because we have these type of things all the time, 6 days a week. So if you've been enjoying what you're seeing, hit that follow button right now. Don't want you to miss out. So right now we're going to our final round of voting. You will be voting for the winner here. The winner is who you'll be voting for right now. So whichever of these people over the course of this few hours you thought was most impressive for whatever reason that is, you will be voting for them. Keeping like whoever you're voting for will be the winner, right? No other eliminations. You have the power to vote for who the winner is, so it's up to you. If you don't vote, it's your fault that your person doesn't win. As the top vote getter, they win. All right. So once again, vote right now. Don't vote later. You'll have 5 minutes left on the clock. The link is in chat. So vote right this second. 5 minutes left on the clock. Oh shit! And all of you, while the voting is happening, quickly tell why you should be the winner, Maddie.
Listen, I am based as hell, and I have been consistently based as hell throughout this entire debate. I brought different perspectives in terms of like the economics and the viability and foreign policy aspect of incentivizing countries and companies to address the climate crisis. I was very polite, mostly, and we love politeness. And I got like dressed up today because I care about projecting a positive image for all of you wonderful people. And I just think you're all like beautiful geniuses.
Okay, all right. We'll go to Hans next.
Yeah, hey everyone. I wasn't able to talk a lot in this panel, like this specific round. I get it. I was silenced by the establishment. I don't want them to stop me. I don't think you want them to stop me either. We can't let the establishment win. If you really want to show them what people power is, if you want to show them what it's like for the people's champion to be the reigning the first time ever, 2-time consecutive champion, then you know the right decision. You know it's to vote Hans. You know it's to stick it to these people who are trying to silence me, trying to silence us. We cannot be stopped, and we will not stop. And I think my takes were like obviously the best, the most nuanced over the course of this conversation. You get it, you know it, you love it, and that's why I'm gonna be the 2-time Prime Royale champion of the world. So also, I'm gonna rip off my shirt if I win. So like, yo.
Okay, following on.
So I'm not gonna showboat like alpha male Hans here.
You know it.
I'm not gonna win. I don't have a large enough following to ever have a snowball's chance in hell of getting the most votes. Consistency is incredibly important. What I would ask that you guys do and you ladies do is please take a look at organizations like Lower Carbon Capital, organizations that are actively involved in investing in solving the problems that we have in global warming. It is a very real problem with very real consequences. Animals that I love and hold dear to my heart, like penguins, they are facing extinction, like my people. And I don't want to see penguins on the list alongside Native Americans on 2100 as part of the extinction list. So if you could just be so kind as to look into the solutions and make active efforts to reduce your carbon footprint, that's all I ask. And as far as I'm concerned, if you do that, I already won.
Marcy.
So, a simple utilitarian calculus here will have you voting for me. I hate to be a nerd, but, whose arguments were the best? It's Marcy. Maddie had some great ones, but, I think the real reason you should vote for me is because I assumed a sort of parental role in this panel. Many times, people would lead us off the topic to go on tangents about police abolition, about media censorship, about all this stuff that we don't have any business talking about because the topics were right there. I think, and this is a me personally thing, that Prime's topics are beautiful, expertly chosen by a number of wonderful individuals, including some of the people on this panel. And that we should dignify those topics by speaking about them, And so out of the charity of my heart, I shepherded this panel along, who was working behind the scenes, pulling the strings with my octopus arms. It was me. It was. And, if I can't buy your love, but if you do vote for me and I do win, I will do a hot tub stream. And I know that everyone wants to see that.
To my chats, hey, we have less than a minute left on the clock. Less than a minute left to do that voting. So jump on in right now. Once the time is up, then yes, it's too bad. I don't care. The winner will be declared, and that's the end of it. So get your votes in right now. 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left on the clock. Do it right now. The link's in chat. Vote right this second. We need you to vote. This is the one for the winner. There will be no rounds after this. So get your voice in right this second. Vote right now. We have 20 seconds left on the clock. And again, if you've been enjoying this, if you like this content, hit that follow button right this second. Don't wait for that either. Hit that follow button because we do this all the time. I thank my audience members for doing this. Oh, and beyond that, after this round, we will continue on to the Open Walk-On channel. So the stream is not ending after this. The stream will not be ending after this. We'll still have more content for you. So stick around. Stick around, please. We'll have more coming up for you. All right. So that was the round. That was the. We will now decide. I'm gonna refresh my page. If you voted afterwards, don't give a shit. Now is the time to see who will win. Okay, all right. So, starting from the bottom, we have Falinor. That's kind of heartbreaking, but Falinor, you got so far.
Got so far.
That's all right, man. Like I said, the biggest and most important thing is that we as a species win in the end.
I think so too. Indeed. Okay. Falinor, thank you so much. All right. Next. The third person from the bottom. Fallen hero. Marcy.
It's true. It's true. Here's what I'll say, all right? I love you, Maddie, and I love you, Hans, all right? And I love you, Fallen Hour, too, of course. But this is a consolation speech, so you get a pat on that. Maddie and Hans, the fact that I, a relatively new streamer, this was my first day doing Destiny-style long-form streaming, was able to stand toe-to-toe with two heavyweights such as yourself and a cast of characters like the one we had tonight is truly impressive, if I do say so myself. And so, if everyone would like to follow the fastest rising star on twitch.tv politics, I am Eagle Music Theory on Twitch, Marceline Haha on Twitter, and if I get 50 subs, I'm going to do a charity karaoke concert where you'll hear your favorites such as PrimeCayes, Hans of Harkir, Marceline, and maybe even some surprise guests sing the hits. All right, thank you.
it is Hans, meaning your stream queen is Maddie. Maddie has done it. Maddie has overcome all the odds. Maddie has taken the crown, right? And then kicked Hans out of her castle, right? Out of her domain. Maddie stands supreme. Maddie, how you feeling?
Honestly, it's just an honor to be nominated. But no, I mean, honestly, like everyone here was so fucking cool and made really good arguments. I'm going to attribute this win honestly to the fact that I a little bit bigger of a following, because I think quite honestly Marcy blew everyone out of the water in terms of like eloquence and like the quality of arguments made. So like thank you to my stands, I guess. But like everyone here, I mean, I couldn't imagine a better group to be talking about these issues with. This was awesome. And Hans, I'll try to do you proud by wearing the crown for a week.
It's fine because like
I have a large shirt to fill, clearly.
Hey, Hans.
I'm just saying, everyone, like, I get it. Like, I'll give Maddie props. She did all right. But I think the problem with Prime and everyone here is that they didn't count the votes. You realize, like, when Prime, like, let it go a little bit, but, like, then stopped it? Because if you look at the poll right now, the winner is Hans of Harkir. So if you look at the true people's champion, I have been denied by the establishment a second time. Wow. If you behold that poll, you see the truth. We all understand.
You're
going to silence.
You're going to storm Prime's
the
house.
Prime Royale.
Your voters,
PrimeCayes Royale.
Voters,
it's fine.
Hans,
I'm not like. I mean, I'm a little disgruntled that you just like you stopped listening to the people when it's convenient to you. You stopped the count. You didn't want democracy.
All right, server muted. Hans, your voters are fucking lazy. I made it very clear. I don't know how clear I have to make it, right? There's always a bunch of tears afterwards. When, yes, you didn't vote in time. Did you not vote? I gave you 5 minutes. Did you wait? Too bad. Don't fucking care. Maddie is our winner. Her voters know how to follow instructions. Everyone else, fuck off.
Prime.
Yeah. It's kind of how that works. So Maddie's voters are better voters because they know how to work within a simple time limit. So once again, Maddie is the stream queen. Hans, now please kiss her feet. Congratulate her on how better she is.
Yeah, Maddie, you're great. I mean, obviously, you're better than Marcy. You're better than Falinor. If you care about like actual numbers, I get that we don't like actually like counting in this chat. But like, I'm really proud of you. I had so much fun talking to you. You're really, really cool.
We do like
Marcy
counting. We like counting down from
as
5 minutes. So.
Marcy, as always, I always appreciate you. I knew it. I knew you would take at least the bronze medal. Falinor, I love you, man. You're secretly based. You're way more based than I was expecting. And I hope to see you in the future. And then PrimeCayes, enjoy the crown of the false queen. It happened with Jack last time. Like, again, Riverboat Jack and Prime conspired to steal it from me last time. And then I won because the people were just so in support. I was so powerful. The people rose up and we got beaten back this time. But everyone knows that the true Dream Queen is and has been, and it will continue to be Hans of Harkir. So again, I get it. Enjoy your tainted victory. Because we both know we will see those numbers.
Storming Prime's house later this week.
Prime, I look
claiming
forward
that it was just stop the steal hashtags. What a beautiful character arc you are about to embark.
I look forward to coming back on this stream and winning as my cult of Marcyites grows. I was once a Voshite, but I think I'm becoming strong enough that I can branch off and lead an army of Marcyites.
I'm terrified of future Marcy. I am terrified because she's gaining so much steam and people are like, wait, she's fucking brilliant and funny and quick-witted and can hold her own. And me, I'm sitting here being like, oh no. So I'm going to enjoy my time in the sun, but like, I realize that time is limited.
Okay.
It's okay.